6 a.m. and that alarm clock's going off. It's Wednesday, March 6th, and the news is already pouring in. Donald Trump, big victories yesterday with Super Tuesday, winning among 15 states. I think losing only Vermont to Nikki Haley. But then really big breaking news happening this morning. Nikki Haley to exit the Republican presidential race. Former South Carolina governor expected to encourage Trump to earn the support of those who backed her. Nikki Haley plans to suspend her Republican presidential primary bid in a speech Wednesday morning. People familiar with the plans told the Wall Street Journal the former South Carolina governor and United Nations ambassador is expected to make an appearance and deliver brief remarks in the Charleston, South Carolina area around 10 a.m. Eastern time. That'll be 8 a.m. our time. We'll be covering it on this show, so we'll keep you up to date on it. Her decision arrived the day after Super Tuesday, when she only won Vermont among 15 states that held GOP contests. Haley won't announce an endorsement Wednesday. The People said she will encourage Donald Trump, who is close to having the delegates needed to win the GOP nomination, to earn the support of Republican independent voters who backed her. There's one line in here that I think is really important to the conversation we're having. As she exits the race, it is hard to know whether Haley is part of the party's future or a last gasp of traditional republicanism that favors hawkish foreign policy, fiscal discipline, and limited government. What do you think, Bill?
Wow. Oh, that's an interesting loaded question there at the end. We had talked about Haley, of course, suspending, and it was just a matter of time after Super Tuesday because the money wasn't going to be there. The advertising wasn't going to be there. And she was Sisyphus at this point. Right. She's just pushing the boulder up the hill and throwing back on top of her. So what I'm real curious about is her messaging. I'm super curious about how she's going to message. And I find it very intriguing that she's asking for Trump to earn her voters.
I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. Why do you think it's a mistake?
I've been in this position.
Yeah.
I remember the hurt feelings. Because these campaigns are vicious. I remember during the debates when Ron Paul and Mitt Romney would tag team and beat up on Rick Santorum, and you'd take it so personally. This is my guy. I've poured out my heart. I've late nights, 2 hours of sleep, driven all over the place to try to get this guy elected.
It's the same reason that I see my 24-year-old son jump up and yell at the referees during a soccer match. Same thing with all his passion. Yes, exactly. I get it.
You poured a lot into it.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then these guys get to go celebrate victorious, and you're sitting there. So I understand the emotion that the Nikki Haley campaign's going through. And there was a call late last night or early this morning with all staff. This is how it happens. And the candidate will get on and go, I want to thank everybody. We're going to announce tomorrow that we're suspending the campaign. Typically, they'll make some type of severance arrangement. You'll get paid through the end of the month. And we really appreciate everything you've done. So that call, if this has gotten out, that call's already taken place.
And for those of us that have been in that call, anytime the meeting starts with, well, I'd like to thank all of you. You're like, oh, it's one of these meetings. Right. Oh, goody. That's great. And those meetings suck. They really do. Because,
They do. And the Haley campaign worked really hard. She was the last one in.
Oh, yeah.
And she really pressed. But she has got to come out, and I've written about this. We've got to stop Joe Biden. That's the only thing that matters at this point. And hurt feelings, frustration over the campaign, feeling like it wasn't fair, feeling like maybe, oh no, the party's drifting in a direction I don't like. You can't take your ball home because you're angry. You need to stand there and go, we're with the guy who won fair and square. Donald Trump didn't cheat. Won fair and square. This is the direction the party's going, and you've got to choose to be a part of it. You can't not vote for Donald Trump. You can't be angry and upset about the direction of the party. You have one mission between now and November, and that is to stop Joe Biden.
Now, I want to pick this conversation up after we go to Blake Olson with the news. And the one thing I want to ask you is, how does that work when Donald Trump already told Nikki Haley supporters he doesn't want them and he doesn't need them.
Yeah, I know.
He already told them that
and
he
he
was
has
going to
a list.
Yes, and he told them he was going to excommunicate them.
Yeah.
Permanently banned. How does that work? How, if you're a Haley supporter, do you come back in under that tent? I want to talk about that with you.
We'll definitely get to that. We'd love to get to your calls too. Let us know what you thought of Super Tuesday. Are you thrilled? Are you excited? It's the rematch, the rumble between Joe Biden and Donald Trump all over again. Or are you lamenting the direction of the Republican Party? We're going to get into Colorado's election results too, because there's a big story there between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley as well. But give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's go to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
Morning.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Billy. 31 and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 50s today, the 710 5-day forecast. Coming up, our top story, Nikki Haley will end her presidential campaign this morning. Super Tuesday voting has concluded, and the 2024 Colorado presidential primary election results are in. President Biden won the Democratic primary. Former President Trump continued his string of victories, again defeating Haley and other GOP candidates.
Well, thank you very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this. There's never been anything so conclusive. This was an amazing night, an amazing day. It's been an incredible period of time in our country's history. It's been sad in so many ways, but I think it's going to be inspiring because we're going to do something that, frankly, nobody's been able to do for a long time.
Trump dominated last night with the exception of Vermont. Supposed to hear from Haley once again this morning as she'll suspend her campaign. The list of potential vice president picks for Trump's campaign is growing and getting longer.
I have my list. I have some folks who I like, but I would say this in all seriousness. I think the list is actually growing and getting longer.
That's according to Jason Miller, a senior advisor for Trump's presidential campaign. He added the campaign is still far from making a decision.
As President Trump is interacting with all the folks who could be potential VP picks, there are so many impressive prospects that are out there. I think we're quite a ways away, though, from seeing anything.
Other news, Commerce City police say a 14-year-old boy caused a major crash that sent 6 people to the hospital Tuesday morning. It happened on East 88th near Dahlia, where investigators say a car driven by the teen struck a guardrail, veered into the oncoming traffic, and crashed head-on into a minivan. 2 people in the van were seriously hurt, while the 14-year-old and 3 other boys were ejected from the car. All 4 boys suffered injuries, and officials say the driver was critically injured. A medical helicopter had to make an emergency landing near Fort Morgan on Tuesday afternoon. The helicopter experienced a bird strike shortly after 3 o'clock, and the pilot made a mayday call to Fort Morgan Emergency Dispatch. The helicopter then landed in a field off Highway 52 and County Road T. 1 person suffered a minor injury and was treated and released at the scene. A deputy at the Arapahoe County Detention Facility has been fired after he was found guilty of providing a firearm to a felon. The gun was found by a probation officer during a routine visit to the home of Kyle Garcia, who was on supervised release. Authorities say Deputy Johnny Alvarado, who's Garcia's brother-in-law, admitted to the probation officer that he gave the gun to Garcia despite knowing he was a convicted felon. Alvarado will be sentenced at a later date. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The Nuggets' 6-game win streak comes to an end. They lose to the Suns 117-107 in overtime last night. 28 in Littleton, 27 in Arvada, 31 In Denver, Jeff and Bill have just kicked it off. It's Hump Day, Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
As Blake mentioned, big day today as Donald Trump wins 14 of 15 states during Super Tuesday, and Nikki Haley, to exit the Republican presidential race later today, will not endorse Trump. I think that's a mistake. I think she should. It's time to go stop Joe Biden. I don't know why she feels like she has any power to be able to tell Trump what to do at this point.
No, she doesn't. But again, he told her, I don't need you. And that's the thing is the how difficult would it be if you were that the losing candidate and the other candidate has basically said you're not welcome. You and your supporters are permanently banned. And the only way back in pretty much is going to be that groveling. It's
repentance.
It's that Game of Thrones. It's the idea that you're going to have to come in and in front of everybody else, you're going to have to bend the knee and publicly. And Trump has made it incredibly difficult for Haley. I can't see how, at least in the near term, she gets there. And especially because of what Trump has done in the past month or so with her. I mean, the one for me is the donations. That to me was like, wow, did you really have to say that?
Tell folks what the donation
when Trump came out and said, if you make a donation to Haley, you are permanently banned from any of the MAGA movement. Permanently banned for donating to Haley. And now you're going to say, I need those people to then flick the switch and color the bubble for my name in the general. Wow. That's really asking a lot. There are a whole lot of other ways he could have expressed it instead of permanently banned. Why would you expect any person that he said you're now permanently banned to come back and go, well, obviously you're the choice? How would you ever expect that? Why that's part I can't wrap my head around. Why would you do that?
Yeah, so a few things on that. I think one, I think that's how he negotiates when and we've talked about this before. If you've read The Art of the Deal, he will go to the extreme in order to make a negotiation back towards the center seem better. So that's just kind of his personality. So I think that's part and parcel of dealing with Donald Trump. But we went through a pretty vicious primary in 2016. I mean, when you think about the stuff he called Ted Cruz and his wife and Marco Rubio and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody got together and stopped Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, that is one of the reasons that I have a lack of respect for Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Because he called your wife ugly and said that your dad might have helped murder JFK. At that point, don't care. I mean, I'm sorry. Even if we are on the same party, the same team, you call my wife ugly, I'm done. I'm not going to turn around and support you in a general election. But Ted Cruz was happy. Not only, he was enthusiastic with it. And I got no respect for that.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair. What do you think? Should Nikki Haley supporters come around and support Donald Trump? Is it time to get on the same team? I know there's a lot of hurt feelings out there. I know a lot of people are frustrated by what happened yesterday. By the way, let's get into Colorado's.
Also, I want to add
numbers
something else there. When you're talking about should Nikki Haley's supporters come around, the question I would ask is, are Nikki Haley supporters the reason Trump is going to lose? Is there too much of a fracture?
Right.
And they have said over and over again, he's not our guy. Can they be persuaded, or will they either vote for Joe Biden, or what's even worse, just sit on the sidelines?
So in Colorado, that's 273,000 votes, just shy of 300,000 votes.
That's important.
That is a really big important number.
That is really important because he can't win without those.
Because if you go back to 2020, it was about 500,000 votes that separated the two.
Jeez.
Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Yeah. And if you lose those, and again, Donald Trump and the Republican Party has to coalesce behind him. Otherwise, you're going to lose. Yeah, absolutely, because you can't. And if Donald Trump got every single Republican vote, he still loses.
Yeah.
You still get a second term of Joe Biden.
Right.
So there's got to be an expansion of the tent. And that's not necessarily Trump's strong suit. That is not. A bridge builder, he is not.
Here's a question I have for you, Bill. So everyone now pivots to general. We were already running a general campaign already, but now it's really a general campaign, okay? It's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. And the focus in 2016, when he was able to win, was how crooked Hillary Clinton was.
Yeah.
And you drive up all of Clinton's negatives and decades of negatives around Hillary Clinton. You can't really do that with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, in some ways, is almost like Trump's kryptonite because he's so out to lunch that when Trump insults him, engages with him during the debate process, all this, Joe Biden just sits there and lets it all go right by him because he's not even there. So you can't engage him at that level.
Well, you also
Trump loses in 2020.
Yeah. Well, Trump's arguments are also soft, and the Republican arguments against Biden are soft. They're not taking the right arguments. They're taking arguments that are easily disproven, and that's a real problem when you're talking to larger electorate. You can't do that.
So what do you do? What does Donald Trump do this time around differently?
I don't know. That's the problem that I've got is I don't see how he's a better candidate now than he was in 2020 when he lost to the same dude. I see nothing that makes him better. I don't see anything that makes him more persuadable to those independent voters that rejected him last time. I can't see them crossing the line, regardless of what polls say right now. I'm going to talk to the phones for a second.
Phones are starting to light up. 303-696-1971. Give us a call. 303-696-1971. Did you vote for Nikki Haley yesterday? Why did you vote for her? And are you going to come over now and support Donald Trump now that he's the last man standing? Here are the results from yesterday. This is really interesting. Joe Biden, 446,000 votes for Joe Biden. For Donald Trump, 517,000 in the state of Colorado. Republicans turned out a lot more aggressively than Joe Biden did, than the Democrats did. And that was partial to a more competitive primary than the Democrats had, but a bigger turnout yesterday from Republicans than Democrats in the state. Does that spell good news for down ticket ballot people? I think it does. I think there's some energy that the Republicans in Colorado are going to have that they haven't had in the last few elections. Let's go to Shirley in Arvada. Shirley, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Shirley.
Morning.
Good morning. I just have one thing to say, and that is nobody seems to be aware of the fact that it does not matter how Colorado's vote go in the presidential election. The Republicans could win the vote here, which is doubtful anyway, but we could win the vote here for the president, and all of our electoral votes would still go to whoever wins the national or the popular vote.
Shirley, I
we
think
have
that's
a law that we have passed a law that says that will work.
I think it has to reach a certain number of states for that to trigger.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually happen until there's enough states for it to make an impact.
I read the whole thing about that, and that's kind of wishy-washy there. So I don't know. But anyway, I have pretty much given up on the Republican Party here unless maybe we can find somebody who will run it with serious consideration.
What do you mean by
I've worked hard for it over a long period of time, and it just doesn't seem to matter.
What do you mean by that, Shirley? Explain that to me. Help me understand what you mean by giving up on the Republican Party. Why have you taken the jersey off, or at least decided to sit on the sidelines?
Things seem to go the way that the way the election is run and what happens and so forth seems to go the way that our head of the party here in Colorado wants the heads, I should say, want things to go. An example of this is the last time that I was elected to to the state convention. Three of us who had been elected were not even seated with the rest of the party from the county. And when it came time to pass out the votes for us to vote, we didn't get ballots, the three of us, myself and two other men. And I complained about this. Our assistant said, I'll go and talk to the county supervisor and find out why we didn't get votes for you, ballots. And she did, and she came back and said, he said they ran out of ballots. Well, there were enough ballots for all the elected people.
Wow.
What they did was they simply gave the ballots to some of the alternates instead of to us. They gave it to the alternates who knew they were going to vote the way they wanted them to. So I actually made a fuss about it and went up to somebody at the Republican desk in general and said, I'm going to vote because I'm an elected candidate here.
Now, Shirley, let me interrupt you just for a second.
I got a ballot.
Yeah.
The two men who were there relied on the assistant to try to do something for him with the general guy.
Well, I like you standing up,
And
Shirley.
they
That's great.
finally-
Let me interrupt you there. Okay. And they finally got the ballots. Yeah. Now, what I want to do
They finally got the ballots, but they got them too late, and the boxes had already been picked up.
yeah. So
I mean,
Yeah,
that
so they weren't
kind of
counted.
thing went on.
Yeah.
3 different times I was
Okay.
elected
Now, Shirley,
as a candidate, and it
Shirley, hold on a
did
sec.
not-
Hold on, Shirley, hold on a sec. I understand, and I agree with you that is absolute crap. Shouldn't have happened to you. But I want to go back to a phrase that you said earlier about the idea of the party going in the direction that the leader is trying to push it, etc. And what I want to ask you is, talk to me about how you see that balance. If you were trying to create the idea of the head of a party, how much of a leader do you want them to chart that course and say, we need to go here, we need to have the messaging this way, this is the stuff that's going to win here in Colorado? Or how much should they then say, hey guys, you're all here, what direction are we going? I mean, how do you balance that leadership? What do you think the role of the leader is for the party? How would you design that role?
I think the leader of the party needs to listen to what the other people, what other people are saying. Another example is because I was a precinct leader also, and we were just reaching the end. Our precinct was just reaching the end of making the decisions for resolutions. And somebody came in and says, your county director says that we're finished, we've got to go, and that's it. And I said, well, wait a minute, we haven't given you our resolutions yet. And he said, that doesn't make any difference.
Oh. Well, now I appreciate what you're saying, Shirley. I appreciate what you're saying. Hold on, Shirley. I appreciate what you're saying about the idea of listening to the larger electorate. But what if that larger electorate says the best thing that we can do is to all march outside, strip down naked, and light ourselves on fire? Shouldn't the leader go, guys, maybe we need to rethink this. Maybe this should be workshopped a little bit longer, and that won't get us to the place that we're going. And I think that's the pull that I'm hearing inside of the GOP party, because I sit outside the party. I'm an independent. I'm unaffiliated, have been for 20 years plus. And what I see is this pull between one group of the voters and another group of the voters, and the leadership trying to balance what they're hearing from both. I mean, how would you do that? How would you walk that tightrope?
I would say that what they need to do, once again, is listen to everybody, talk with everybody, actually have some people, really listening to what the electorate wants, and then saying, let's try to bring things together.
Shirley, did you support Nikki Haley in the primary?
No, actually, I did not, because I didn't figure that she could win. And so I went ahead and supported Trump.
Great. Are you excited that Donald Trump is the Republican nominee? Do you think he's going to win?
It's hard to say because we don't know what the Democrats are going to do as far as Biden is concerned. They may decide something else in the long run, or they may go ahead and have him elected, and then with Article 25, say, well, he's not it, and we'll go with who we want for vice president. In other words, they may have some good tricks up their sleeve. And so I think that while I do not like the personality of Trump, I do like the policies that he stands for and will enforce.
Shirley, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Shirley from Arvada. We're getting your take on last night's Super Tuesday. Did you vote for Nikki Haley in light of the fact that she's now going to withdraw? Are you willing to come over and support Donald Trump? Was Nikki Haley never even really an option? It was Trump all the way. We need to get behind him. We need to go after Joe Biden. This is for the sake of our country and for the future. So get on the Trump train. What are your thoughts? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Hey, eliminate the stress and uncertainty of selling your home while still getting top dollar with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team with Keller Williams Sell. Their Sell with Certainty program guarantees your home will sell without even having to list it, and at the same time getting you top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team guarantee the sale, ensuring a seamless process and eliminating the stress while getting you the best price. Get paid twice with their Sell with Certainty program. Give Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team a call today at 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD. Your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket. I highly recommend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, the realtors I trust. Empower Home team provides exceptional service, invaluable advice, and employs unique systems to maximize the money you can get for your home. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table by not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database is filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the right price. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Reach out to my friends and realtors with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team today. Call 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll get to your calls and texts next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. It was an exciting night for US President Biden and former President Trump as they both saw huge victories in Super Tuesday contests. In New York, Haley Bianco has a recap.
Republican frontrunner Donald Trump dominated the GOP nominating contest taking place coast to coast on Super Tuesday.
Well, thank you very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one.
President Joe Biden won on the Democratic side, but not in American Samoa, where he lost the Democratic caucus to Jason Palmer, a previously unknown candidate. As the results rolled in, Coloradans offered their thoughts on the prospect of a historic Biden-Trump rematch in November's general election.
A little disappointing that this country is still stuck on the same thing. I don't know. I think that at this point we deserve someone that's not pushing, 80, 90 years old to be in office and is, mentally stable enough to be there.
It's a Trump-Biden rematch. I mean, to be honest with you, life was a lot better underneath the other guy. Orange man bad, but, so what? I was making money. I was living. I was able to freaking make it. I'm struggling now, and I make good money, and I don't want to be struggling anymore. Not only that, the guy that's in there right now has drastically screwed things up.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
Good morning to you. It's the day after Super Tuesday. If you're like me, you're kind of stumbling around a little bit after staying up late watching Fox. But it was a pretty quick decision in Colorado. By about 7:30, they'd called it for Donald Trump. Here's some of the results from last night here in Colorado. Only about a third of all potential voters in Colorado voted. So out of 3.7 million active voters, only about 1.3 million cast any ballots. Donald Trump outperforming even Joe Biden.
Yeah, he did. Got more votes, and the enthusiasm was much, much greater
Yeah.
on the Republican side of the aisle here in Colorado, which should scare the Democrats. It really should. The enthusiasm gap is real, and they have to figure out a way to close that.
Nikki Haley winning some interesting counties. Going back to our argument that kind of there's an older party and a newer party that's emerged.
Have to dive into that.
Nikki Haley winning Denver, Boulder, Summit County, Steamboat Springs, Aspen, and then down near Telluride. So kind of the more what I call elitist Republicans, the wealthy Cherry Hills Republicans. I grew up there.
Now,
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's just where I was.
Will they come back, and can they join Donald Trump? I mean, basically, we were talking about this a little bit off the air, that does this seal Donald Trump's fate here in Colorado, that there is no possible way for him to win Colorado? And does he then become a drag down ballot? Is he going to keep some of those Haley supporters, etc., home? We've seen down ballot shakeups recently. We did see it not impact Arizona as much, even though Trump lost Arizona. The down ballot Republicans did well.
Yeah.
But in other states, it is a huge drag.
It's a giant anchor on all the Republicans now.
Yeah, you've been in the strategy meetings. You understand that if it's not appealing up at the top of the card, nobody's going to show up for the rest of the fight.
And who does Donald Trump do worst with out of anybody else? College educated people.
Oh, yeah.
And Colorado is number 2 only behind Massachusetts.
Yeah.
As far as college educated people. So let's go to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake. What are you working on for us?
Well, we're working on, of course, Nikki Haley and preparing to hear her official statement coming up. I'm guessing in about 8 o'clock Denver time as she ends her presidential campaign. But come on, let's face it. She was probably the 10th best candidate in the field. That's what a lot of people feel. Come on, let's be.
I mean, it is amazing how, I mean, she in many ways was just like George H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
Right. And
exactly.
What was it? 24 years ago, he has the nomination, becomes president of the United States. And now Republicans are like, yeah.
You know what? I look at these things. I look at the old guard like I do TV, linear television and broadcasting as far as visual is headed out and digital is in. And that's kind of what you're seeing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With the GOP, I don't think you're going to have candidates like her in the future. That's just
that was a big question in the Wall Street Journal here. As she exits the race, it's hard to know whether Haley is part of the party's future or a last gasp of more traditional republicanism that favors hawkish foreign policy, fiscal discipline, and limited government.
Right. And although it always comes down to money. So we'll talk about that at the top of the hour. House unveiling a bill also to ban TikTok in the U.S. Unless they do something. We'll talk about that, the details, that and more coming up at the top of the hour.
Blake, I got a question here for you.
Yes.
Carl Mecklenburg out with some knives for Russell Wilson tweeted yesterday, Russell Wilson isn't a leader. The foolishness that went into his first year at Denver with a private coach, his own office at the facility, and family at training camp when others couldn't have those privileges proved his self-centeredness. Holy cow.
Yeah, I love Carl. And he's right. He was humble. I think the good thing about Wilson, he was humbled after that first year. The first season, that was ridiculous. The special lots or spaces, parking spaces for his wife, Sierra. I think, is that her name? Sierra.
Yeah.
And he had his office, but I think he was humbled. And at times he actually played pretty well last year for the Broncos in certain circumstances. But I agree with Carl. Man, Carl's a football player. He's a real football player. So whatever Carl says, I'm right there with him.
Yeah, I would agree with Carl too, because Carl can hurt me.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
yes, sir, Mr. Mecklenburg, sir. I agree with you with everything.
Right.
Yes, sir. Can I have my arm
Absolutely.
back? Yes, exactly.
And the funny thing, like we always see, he's the last person you would think would be a football player because he's the nicest guy in
He
the
is
world.
such a nice guy.
He is.
Yeah.
Man. He is top of the line, top
Yeah, he
shelf.
is.
He and Randy Gradishar.
Oh yes, Gratishar. And I think for me, Mecklenburg's criticism resonates more than other players because of the respect and because I know him as a person. I know that he is not a guy that's about BS. That he's a lunch pail guy. He's a dude that shows up with a hard hat in the lunch pail.
Yep.
Even though he was a football player, he was a lunch pail guy.
Absolutely.
And that's what he didn't see in Russell Wilson. He saw Russell Wilson showing up in the limos and all the trappings and all the bragging before you'd even throw a single pass here in the Mile High City. Yeah.
Yeah, it's analogous to the GOP, really. Honestly, you got the working class who loves Trump, and then working class like Mecklenburg, who actually played football, unlike what they do with sometimes in this day and age in the NFL. So I love it. Whatever Carl says, I usually stand behind.
There you go. All right, Blake. Thanks. Well,
Blake,
news with Blake Olson at the top of the hour. So big headlines right now. Donald Trump winning 14 of 15 states in Super Tuesday, essentially locking down the nomination for the Republican Party as president of the United States. And it'll be a rematch between him and Joe Biden. Nikki Haley will be withdrawing later today at 8 a.m. and refuses at this point to endorse Trump, wants Trump to work for her endorsement and the support of her delegates, which, I don't know.
Is this, with Trump now being the nominee, is he assuring Biden another 4 years? That's what I want to know. 696-1971. Has Trump just decided that we have another 4 years of Joe Biden? Because last time they faced off, he got beat. And I'm not certain he has done it.
And he hasn't been good for Colorado.
Yeah, and I haven't.
Republicans in Colorado.
Yeah, and I am not certain that he has made the persuasive case to get those people that were away from him last time. Yes, he has his core, but convince me that he has broadened that base, because if he has his base, he loses. So are we signing up for another loss? I want to know.
So
696-1971.
Nikki Haley won some counties in Colorado, but this goes to the argument from many Trump supporters that the Republicans that support her are kind of urban, wealthy, more elitist Republicans. So she wins Denver County, Boulder County, Routt County, which is Steamboat, Summit County, which is Vail and Beaver Creek, Pitkin County, which is Aspen, and then San Miguel County and San Juans, and you got Telluride and those types of cities down there. So do you think, Bill, that those Republicans that in those areas are just a different breed of Republicans than, let's say, Elbert County? Like, I'm looking at Elbert County, Donald Trump wins almost 80% versus Nikki Haley 20%. I mean, that's just a very different type of Republican than you can get in Boulder. And Boulder, it's 55% Nikki Haley, 40% Donald Trump. So it's a very different type of Republican. Do we need a
completely different type of Republican?
And is it important that we come together, you think?
I think it's important you come together because you're going to lose if you don't. Right. But the issue I've got is, can you? I don't think you can. And I want to hear from texters, callers. Convince me that there is a way this schism inside the GOP can be healed. Because if it can't, you're a bunch of losers. You're about to rack up yet another loss going for that White House. And it has not been pretty over the past 3 decades.
Let's go to Pete in Colorado Springs. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Pete.
KNUS.
Good morning, guys. Here's why I think Trump will do better than last time is look at the state of the world and the state of the country now. A lot of people may not like Trump, but under Trump, their lives were easier. They were better. They were doing better. The world was in a better situation. And I think when they go to that poll, they're going to look at things like the border, things like inflation, things like the average family is spending $11,000 more a year to buy what they were buying $11,000 less under Trump. His economy was better. There wasn't Hamas, Iran, and Russia running amok, especially China with everything that's going on. My question to anyone out there is, tell me what has gotten better over the last 4 years, and that's your answer on who you're going to vote for.
Yeah, I think that, Pete, that's exactly right. Things have changed: immigration, economy, government corruption, the war in Europe, war in the Middle East, all of these problems that Joe Biden now brings to the table that he didn't bring in 2020. But there's still this reality. There is a visceral negative response that some voters have to Trump where it could be really bad. I mean, look at the city of Denver. Pete, it is a hellhole of crime and drug use and homelessness. And voters are like, you know who's going to solve that problem for us? Just different Democrats. They almost, there's this visceral gut pushback on Trump that some voters in Colorado can never get over. I mean, what do you do with that?
You can't fix that. But people that can actually have the ability to reason and critically think, I don't know how you can't sit back. I put it out there. What has gotten better that the federal government or that the president can control over the last 4 years? I would say it's almost to the point of chaos right now, especially with the border and stuff. Listen, we got still 8 months till the election, and a lot can happen. I know that. But I don't see the economy getting better.
Right.
I think that there's a fairly, if you're listening to the director of the FBI, there's probably a pretty good chance that we get hit with terrorism from something that came over the border here.
Okay, now, Pete, hang on a sec here. Now, again, Trump declared during Biden's administration we were going to hit a worse crash than 1929. Didn't happen. He predicted several terrorist attacks. Didn't happen. There are a number of things Trump has said was going to happen. And when we go back to the economy, I hate to break it to you and the listener. The economy is better under Biden than it is under Trump.
No, it's not.
By nearly every measurement, the economy is better under Biden than it is under Trump.
No, it's not.
This is the problem because, again, this is the problem. If you really believe that, you don't have ability to critically think. If you think that the average family spending $11,000 more a year, sir, is a better economy than it was under Trump, then I can't fix you. And I know you get paid to create debate here, but honestly, if you think the economy,
Pete, gas prices are where they should be based on the rise that we saw between Obama, Trump, and Biden. They are where they should be based on the graph. Our GDP is up. Our employment is up. We have higher participation.
Those are all part-time jobs.
We have higher participation rate in the economy than we had under Trump. Trump is only the second president that left his office with a net loss in jobs. Did we forget this?
COVID, sir. That's because of COVID. He had nothing to do
know.
with it.
No. Hang on, Pete. Pete,
Okay,
who was the president?
People,
who was the president during COVID?
I think he made a lot of mistakes during COVID.
Okay, that's an important thing because it's a crisis, and the one major crisis Trump was faced with, he gets an F.
Oh, no, wait a second. I think the border was a crisis with him. I think that Trump absolutely handled the world stage correctly.
I said major.
Sitting down and stuff. I don't think you would see Hamas, Iran, or Russia on the move like they are here. And again, I'll go back to the economy. We have more people in debt right now, more people living paycheck to paycheck. For you to be able to tell me that the economy is better for Americans today, that's insane.
Pete, I agree with you.
That's what the economic numbers say. I'm sorry that the math doesn't work your way. You can feel whatever way you want, but the math doesn't show that. I'm sorry that the numbers get in the way.
It absolutely does.
No,
Prices have never been higher and are starting to accelerate upside again. I'm looking at articles right now. All the jobs that have been created in the last year have been part-time. There has been zero job growth for native-born Americans since 2018. Nearly all the jobs have gone to immigrants or mostly illegal immigrants. Real wages have not only been negative for most of Biden's presidency, they just turned negative again. All right.
And the government solution to that is, there isn't one, but that's good.
We'll go to Tom and Brian in just a second here. Stick around, guys. We'll get to you. We've got You Choose the News coming up. Your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, we've got full lines here, guys. Stick around. We're going to get to Tom, Brian, and Jim. We've got You Choose the News coming up.
Yes, it is that time where we make the questionable decision to change a little bit of the format of the station to play this fake radio news game show we call You Choose the News. We have spent mere moments this morning scouring stupid stories from the interwebs and giving them ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game because the people in charge aren't awake yet. So we'd appreciate if you do not share this little secret with them. Alrighty, Blake Olson, of course, choosing our third story today. Okay, gentlemen, lots of pressure. Here we go. Headlines today. Headline number 1, is Gen Z killing concerts? Headline number 2, when did this come up in the meeting? Headline number 3, man tries to channel his inner snake. And headline number 4, have we tried the trunk monkey?
Let's
Jeff?
go trunk monkey.
All right, have we tried the trunk monkey? This comes to us from Los Angeles, California, to quote David Letterman, and specifically thieves in and around Los Angeles. They have found a new way to get into your fancy cars with a tiny computer. Youths, as they say in the movies, the youths are walking around carrying an electronic device that if they know the make and model of your car, especially the year, their computer has the operating system inside the computer. So they then let their computer talk to your fancy car and presto, unlock doors and instant access to the accelerator. Yes, Camaros are the ones right now. Yes, Camaros thefts in LA are up over 1,000% because of this sneaky trick. So yes, yet again, all those technological advances are really just making it easier for them to take our stuff. Okay, sir. Second choice this morning. Man tries to channel his inner snake. When did this come up in the meetings? And Generation Z is killing the concerts.
Oh, let's go concerts.
Generation Z is killing the concerts. It's all your fault. You're not going to have those one-off concerts anymore. It's all going to be festivals. Why? Because they're not drinking. It's a real problem. Those one-off concerts that we have when Metallica, Taylor Swift tour through, the venue makes their money on alcohol sales.
Yeah.
Gen Z is not doing the dranky drank. They're actually getting high and doing other stuff before they show up at the concert. And then they're only buying the Red Bull or the White Claw or the one thing. So rather than spending hundreds, it's like
$12 a beer.
Exactly. But they're bragging online going, hey, I'm just going to hang here with my joints and do my $12 beer once.
Wow.
And so it is hurting it. So they're talking about in the music industry right now that maybe we're going to have to go to all festivals because you can't make money on single concerts anymore.
Interesting.
And it's Gen Z's fault, and I will blame you for the rest of my life because that is so important to me. Okay, Blake Olson from the newsroom joins us, and he chooses our final story. Your choices, sir. Man tries to channel his inner snake, or when did this come up in the meetings?
Come on, we're working with you, Billy.
I know.
We have to go with the man channeling his inner snake.
Oh, that's
why
I love
30
you.
Of them, right?
I do. That's why I love you so much, Blake. And this is from Singapore. A man recently headed into the Singapore emergency room at a hospital, and he was having problems breathing. So doctors did a quick examination, said, whoa, hang on there. 55-year-old had tried to swallow something unusual. He said he had been at an all-you-can-eat buffet recently and decided that he was going to take down the octopus. The problem is, evidently, like a toddler, he didn't bother to chew. The octopus got lodged partially down his throat. Little wiggly tentacles and everything. Yeah, he was having problems breathing. They had to reach in. They pulled it out, and it was half an octopus. I keep thinking, chew the stuff. I mean, what the hell's going on here?
Chicken.
It does. It does. But seriously, I mean, I'm just going to swallow this thing down. I mean, okay, I understand if it's like a sleeve of Thin Mints, the Girl Scout cookies. Okay, I'll go snake, but octopus? No. That's ridiculous. That is just silly. Yeah. Well, that is it. That is the end of You Choose the News. Thank you for joining us, Blake. We'll talk to you about the news in just a second. And this was obviously not sponsored by Roll 'em Out Shelves. Book your free estimate today and organize your kitchen or bath. See their work at Roll 'em Out Shelves. Tell them you heard about it on 710 KNUS. Do not mention You Choose the News. They will hurt you. All right, back to you, sir.
All right, we are taking all calls. Tom, Brian, Jim, you're up next. We're going to be talking about this primary victory for Donald Trump yesterday. The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado.
Good morning.
It's Wednesday, March 6th, and Donald Trump is the presumptive Republican nominee, winning 14 of 15 states during Super Tuesday. And we're anticipating here in 1 hour that Nikki Haley will withdraw from the Republican primary. She has not given an indication as to whether or not she's going to endorse Donald Trump. She has said things like, he has to earn my delegates' support. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, is this going to be a bye Felicia speech? I don't know about that.
Joe Biden's the one we got to stop. Get on the team. All right, let's go to Tom. Or before we get to Tom, let's go to Blake with the news. Good morning, Blake.
All right, Jeff and Billy, thank you very much. 31 and sunny in Denver. Expecting highs in the upper 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story. Former South Carolina governor and UN ambassador Nikki Haley is now also a former GOP presidential candidate after winning only the state of Vermont in the Super Tuesday contest. She is expected to end her campaign at 8 o'clock Denver time. Her exit sets up a Trump-Biden rematch for the general election in November.
Well, thank you very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this.
Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee.
I think it is very clear that not only Tennesseans, but the American people and Republicans in the Republican primary are standing with Donald Trump. They are furious about the open border. They are very upset about Bidenflation.
The House is unveiling a bipartisan bill to ban TikTok. On Tuesday, both Democrat and Republican House reps introduced the bill that would force TikTok to separate from its Chinese-owned parent company, ByteDance, or be banned in the USA. The bill gives ByteDance 5 months to divest TikTok before the ban would go into effect. The Quality Inn illegal immigrant shelter in Aurora closed its doors on Tuesday. It's the first of 4 migrant shelters set to shut down in the Denver metro area as the city works to address a multi-million-dollar budget deficit. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston says the closure would save the city around $60 million in the 2024 budget. And you can talk to Jeff and Billy about that math. Parker police are searching for a driver they say may have witnessed or been involved in a violent sexual assault. Investigators say the assault happened on the night of February 13th in the Pinery subdivision. The surveillance camera image of the vehicle in question shows a newer model Ford F-150, and the image has been shared on social media. Police say the truck appears to be lifted and has dark-colored fog lamps. Anyone who has information on the truck is asked to contact the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. It is 28 in Highlands Ranch. It's 26 in Boulder and 31 in Denver. The Nuggets' 6-game win streak comes to an end. They lose 117-107 to the Suns. And the Avalanche going for back-to-back wins. They take on the Red Wings tonight at Ball Arena. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Nikki Haley living in a fantasy world thinking she was going to get this nomination.
Nice job. That's so good. Oh, my partner, you are the best. Thank you.
Just,
you
on
make
the
me
roller
happy.
coaster. You remember this video?
Yes.
Remember Mariah
Yeah,
on the video
yeah.
roller coaster? All right, let's
that
go
is
to
great.
Tom. You've been waiting. I appreciate it. Tom, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Tom.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind is I think I have to quibble with what you said earlier, Jeff, about a possible Republican surge based on the ballots, because if the numbers that you quoted in the last hour were on the ballots cast, it ignores what's the split between the unaffiliated who went D versus went R.
Yeah.
And in particular, I think that may be why in the counties you also mentioned earlier, Denver, Boulder, et al., those counties had unaffiliateds who normally lean left, and they grabbed that Republican ballot and voted for Nikki Haley.
I think that's very true. I think that's very true. I'm just looking at this just straight voter turnout in the Colorado primary. Democrats 534,271, Republicans 818,560. So definitely more motivation on the Republican side to get out and vote yesterday.
I think you're right, but I think it's also it's going to take some post-polling results to go figure out what was the split among the unaffiliated, and did that influence things? So
they're the biggest voting bloc in Colorado. The state's very unique.
Yep.
Unaffiliated, kind of independent, non-party voters make up the biggest voting bloc. They tend to lean, if I remember correctly from talking to guys like Dave Flaherty, kind of 3-1 liberal as opposed to conservative. There's some conservatives in that independent, non-affiliated group, but they're mostly made up of more liberal-minded voters.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Tom's line is open. Tom from Littleton, thanks so much for calling in. 303-696-1971. Let's go to Brian in Arvada. Brian, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Hey, guys. Well, the inevitable happened. We knew Trump was going to win the nomination.
Yep.
I mean, it was like not even funny. And despite everybody, a lot of people on this station and otherwhere saying, Trump can't win. Trump can't win. Okay, he won the primary. We'll see about the general. As far as the economy, all the matrix, whatever, it's a better economy. All I care about is my pocketbook. I'm a family of 4. The economy's not better under Biden. Crime's not better under Biden. I'm paying way more on everything. My business that I work for, they're not better under Biden. We just had a meeting with interest rates are coming down, but them being at 8 and 9% killed us for a year. We had the worst year last year, and they're not. And a lot of these people I work for, they're not Republicans. They're Democrats. They're blaming Biden. So you can say stock market's up. What if you don't own stock? What if you don't have a 401k?
Oh, Brian, I totally get it, Brian.
Bills,
yes, I get it. Daily bills, yes.
The
daily bills are
not better.
Well, daily bills absolutely are up. The issue is what is the function of the Biden administration that has made it so bad? That's the part that has to be involved in that conversation. I agree that the economy is tougher and tighter for the average worker, you, I, Jeff, everyone listening. Absolutely. The question I have about this is, what is the policy or movement the president, either Trump or Biden, can do? And my answer to that personally is my opinion, not a thing. There isn't a thing that Trump could come in and do that would change. In fact, most of the things he's talking about would hurt the trajectory of the economy. And the fundamentals, the numbers behind the economy are actually pretty good. There's a reason why you, I, and everybody else are paying more and why prices are, but that's not a function of the executive office. That's a different function of the economy. And I would love to have that discussion, but it is not a Biden policy that is making you pay more at the grocery store or at the gas pump.
And I'm not an economist, so I can't speak to that. But
that's fair.
But policy matters. And we were way better off economically and safety wise and everything under Trump's policies.
Well, hang on a second, Brian, with the safety thing. I'm glad you came back to that. Now, again, we can discount, like, or dislike it, but national crime statistics from the FBI show that violent crime is at a low that we haven't seen since the late 70s. and that's violent crime. I'm not saying all crime, but we normally focus on the violent side of it. So yes, there are pockets, and yes, we have instances, but according to the people that arrest the people doing the crimes, we have lower violent crime than we have since the late 70s, and that is different than what we had under Trump.
Well, Billy, if you're going to sit here and argue that Democrat policies keep you safer than Republican policies, then again, I can't reach you.
No,
look at
that's
Denver under Democrat rule. It's a disaster. So Democrat policies don't breed safety. They don't help the economy. It's all about control.
Here's
and
the thing,
that's
Brian.
Biden and everybody underneath down the ticket.
Well, but the Republicans want,
that,
but Republicans want control with you, and I understand the idea that people say that they can't help me, but this is what I'm saying. I'm saying people like you are saying, oh, the Democrat policies are so bad that crime is out of control, yet the statistics say violent crime is down. And I'm the one saying that's what the statistics say. That's what the people that do the numbers say. And people turn to me and say, well, obviously, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's only one person in this conversation that is talking about violent crime statistics, and that is me. That is the only one.
Well, Billy, it's a talking point because everyone says, oh, inflation's down. Yeah, after policies made it rise to 9, now it's down.
What policies?
Crime's
Wait,
down.
what policies did Biden implement that raised?
Police.
No, that's not an inflationary policy.
Yeah, that's crime. Defund the police. We don't have people wanting to be police officers.
Biden didn't defund the police. Biden didn't do a national push to defund the police. He never had that policy. You can't hang that jacket on him. It's not fair.
Billy, all this stuff is a moot point because Trump's the nominee. So now all the people, all the haters need to suck it up and vote for Trump, because that's what we've been doing for you all haters. We've been sucking it up and voting for your moderates and your idiots and your Cory Gardners and your Joe O'Days, and we're big fat losers. It's time to suck it up and vote for Trump. And everyone needs to do that now, because if you're going to sit here and still hate Trump over Biden policies, then we can't help you, and maybe need to go work on some Democrat campaign somewhere. But I'm telling you, everyone needs to suck it up and vote for Trump and stop hating, including Haley the Hater. Oh my God, Haley the Hater. Billy, I don't want to come up with a nickname for you, but
that's a good one.
Not to do.
That's a really good one.
Dick, what not to do, Wadhams. Come on.
That is a really good one. That is much better than Trump's. I got to give you props for that. Haley the Hater is very, very good. There's an alliteration there. That's nicely done, man. High five.
So let's have Dick Wadham on and say he's going to suck it up and rally around Trump. He said
yesterday on a different program he will not vote for Trump. I think that's a mistake. I think that's a really big mistake.
So he's hurting the party, and all the haters that are not going to vote for Trump in this state and beyond are hurting the cause. And all they're doing is helping Democrats. And you look yourself in the mirror and your kids in the mirror when you don't vote for Trump this time out, because that's what killed us last time. And if we have an up and up election, if we don't change all the election laws like we did before and allow mass voter balloting and non-verification, Trump will win in a landslide.
Brian, I appreciate it. Brian from Arvada. Brian's line is going to be up at 303-696-1971.
Heard that
a lot of
landslide
text messages here
about
about the crime stats are lower. They're saying that a lot of folks are saying that crime stats are lower because we don't record it. We're not prosecuting these people. We're letting them off. We're not recording it the right way.
Those are FBI crime stats. Last time I checked, the FBI doesn't prosecute a damn person. So the idea that the FBI is not counting the people that are prosecuted, prosecution's DOJ. Crime stats are FBI.
Bill,
so again, I'm just saying, if the people that are people that are arresting the people doing the crime say these are the stats, you can't talk to me about prosecution. They don't prosecute.
I think you're going to run into an issue here where people's real world experience doesn't match up with these talking points. You're just about everybody I know has taken a part-time job to try to make things work with their own families in ways that just to maintain what they had 2 or 3 years ago. Most of the people I know won't go downtown because of the crime and the homelessness. And so when Democrats, and we're going to see this at the State of the Union, when Democrats come out and tout all these talking points about how great the economy is, how low crime is, how they're addressing illegal immigration, I think people are going to trust their own eyes first and foremost over these talking points. So that's That's going to be the reality here. We've got a lot of text messages coming in. I love all this stuff. I think people need a scapegoat for the economy because the vast majority of us, myself included, don't understand economics and what drives it. We need a scapegoat, so the president is the figurehead on whom we pin blame, maybe. Janet from Casper, Wyoming. Thanks, Janet. Suck it up, elite debate skills, Brian. Trump supporters would be more successful of arguing on policy and not name calling and disparaging 0359.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got a couple of calls off the air, and it's weird. People calling in, and they're calling me a lot of names. Oddly enough, nobody's brought any facts. It's just calling me names. Okay. 696-1971. I understand that I come at this from a different point of view than you. Not a Democrat, not a Republican. I'm on my own weird island. I get it. But calling me names? Okay.
Bill, you know that law enforcement judges are not going after these criminals, and that's why it's down. These numbers are a false negative. 5311.
That's prosecution. You have to talk about the arrests. That's where the FBI is. But isn't it convenient? Isn't it convenient when I bring information to the table that changes or challenges your worldview, that it's not about those numbers? It's about, I have to make an excuse. I have to make, they're obviously not prosecuting. That's the problem. Despite the fact the FBI doesn't prosecute a person. They don't. That's DOJ. But thank you. Appreciate you playing along.
All right, let's go to Joe on line 1. Joe, you're from Arvada. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Jeff. I want to go on record as saying, yes, I was wrong.
Oh, no.
Trump won 49 states out of 50, not all 50.
You're so close. You're so close, Joe.
I did admit that I underestimated the communism in Vermont.
That's fair.
And I also underestimated the rigging that was done in Vermont.
Don't they in Vermont have just a totally open bill? You were talking about this.
Yeah,
they have a totally open primary,
there's
so
no
anybody
party
can vote. No party registration. So
Now,
anybody
Billy,
can come over and vote for.
On your issue of statistics.
Yeah.
I just want to say, first of all, are you being funded by Soros?
No, but if you can help me, oh God, if I can get one of those fat checks, please. If you can help me make those connections, Joe, please. I mean, Koch brothers, whoever it is, I will take the check. I'm a capitalist, regardless of what the people say in the text messages. I will take the check. I will take the check. Yes, I can be bought. Yes, but unfortunately, nobody's paid, which is probably a good idea. I appreciate it though.
Well, okay. So these numbers, I want you to know that if any statistics were lies, like what is it? Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain said, "There's lies, damn lies, and statistics."
Yeah.
If any statistics were ever manipulated more by the FBI, I cannot think of one. You'll never get a clean set of statistics from the FBI on murders. They just don't want to show you the number of murders. They will try to keep it hidden. They'll leak out little pieces of it here and there, but they don't want you to know. So here's the problem. We don't know the numbers of murders because the FBI doesn't want you to know, Billy.
Okay, now Joe, if we take this to its logical conclusion, then it means that all crime stats are bogus, and we can't say for certain that either Donald Trump nor Joe Biden could lower the crime stats. That there would be neither one of them would have any appreciable or objective effect on the crime stats because we have no way to measure them. So we should not address it.
There is a way to measure them.
We can't talk about it. We can't talk about it because we can't measure
Billy, it. Here's how you measure it.
Yeah.
All you need to do is I want you to go to the number. Let's see, the top 5 Democrat cities in the country, get out at 10 o'clock at night and walk for 4 hours in any direction in downtown, either Denver or Chicago, and just let's see what happens. That's how you can measure it, Billy.
A personal one-off test. I mean, I'm looking here at reported violent crime rates in the United States from 1990. They've been dropping since 92, and they continue to go down. This goes back to the question I had for Bill earlier was, and Joe, feel free to speak into this too. you're going to get these talking points from the Democrats because that's what politicians do. They're going to tout how great everything is under their leadership. Joe Biden's going to go in on the State of the Union on Thursday and talk about how great the economy is, how wonderful things are going and under his leadership. And he's such a great, talented president. And everybody I know has 2 jobs. Everybody I know. And they're all struggling to try to make it right now. They're working on the weekends. They're driving for, Uber Eats, those types of things. Where does our experience run up against a talking point from Joe Biden in a State of the Union address?
Well, here's the thing: is there needs to be some sophisticated information come out. Like, for instance, how about some of these big tech and Wall Street people come out and say it? The Fed has been pumping money into the stock market for how long now, and it's coming big. We're not just printing trillions to support major big government, but we're also pumping money into the financial system ad infinitum.
Right.
There's going to come a point where what happens to your money is the Weimar Republic scenario.
Right. I agree.
You go to the store one day and you'll be able to buy the bottle of whatever, and then the next day you'll go to the store and you'll only be able to buy the bottle.
If the national debt is $34 trillion, why not make it 38 trillion? Why not make it 50 trillion? Nobody knows where this is going to go.
Well, the other thing is nobody really understands what $1 trillion is.
Yeah, that's true.
The idea of this, inflation isn't comprehended even by the top brains, because they don't really understand the scope of what we've done. We have made serfs out of our children's children. And I'm just telling you, there's only one way, is to fully engage in common sense, fully engage in understanding that, yes, a budget is there for a reason. We have to do what Steve Bannon says, and that is engage at all levels. We have to have action. And here's the slogan. Remember this: in 24, we've got to make it too big to rig.
I
It
agree.
has to be.
I agree, Joe. Thank you. Joe from Arvada, great call. I appreciate it. Dwayne, we're going to get to you next. When it comes to creating the perfect kitchen or bathroom countertop, it's all about understanding the client's needs and personal style. That's why communication is key. Mitch Floria is the master craftsman with the art of granite and works with his team of highly skilled craftsmen, each with their own unique expertise to help bring your vision to life. From single residential installations to large-scale projects, Mitch and his team at the Art of Granite will listen to you and get you what you need. Mitch provides granite, marble, quartz, and other materials from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices with no markup, so you can get the most for your budget. Mention KNUS and receive a bathroom countertop free with the purchase of your fantastic new kitchen countertops, or get a kitchen and bathroom sink free with the purchase of any countertop package. Schedule a consultation with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West, or call Mitch at 303-386-5919. That's 303-386-5919. Or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com to start dreaming about your new countertops. That's theartofgranite.com. Let's go to Dwayne and Divide. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, gentlemen. Anything special happened yesterday that I missed out on?
I don't think so. I had a nap. I'm kidding. I didn't.
Well,
it was an early night for most of us because they called Colorado within about 10 minutes.
Yes, I saw that. By the way, a bit of Colorado trivia. We are not a state with 4 even corners. We have 697 edges around the entire state. Something to chew on when you think about things.
Say that again. We have 697 edges?
Yes, we're not a square state.
What's
when
an
you look
edge?
at the map, You know, well, you have the four corners.
Normally, where I
everybody
dance
says,
on. That's not what I just-
Right, okay. So you know, it looks like it's a square, but actually it has 697 individual and unique edges on the state of Colorado's border.
I'm a little sad now because I always thought that we were
No.
more of a perfect square. You disappointed me this morning, Dwayne. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry. I was kind of hoping to be more of a Huey Lewis guy, hip to be square.
I appreciate.
myself,
Oh, nicely done. Oh, high
well,
five, high five. That's
Oh,
nice.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
What's on
take
your
it, I'll
mind?
take it.
That is fantastic.
Well, after seeing everything and, you know, hearing about Nikki Haley, my gosh, it was a tight race, neck and neck, all these different primaries and everything. And it was just, well, you know, I just kind of see a fade somewhere. But I see our biggest problem in Colorado is Dick Wadhams, who's come out and said that he would not vote for Trump. And that's the reason why there's a chance he could lose, is because when the former big wheel politician for Colorado on the Republican side says he's not going to vote for him, whereas on the Democrats, it's like, Hitler, yeah, we like him. He's good. We'll go ahead and vote him in. Everybody follows and runs like lemmings. When we start separating and splintering like this, we will not be able to consolidate everything and run a good program. We need to sit there and, you know, choke it down. Look, would I wanted somebody else? Yes, but come on. Can you imagine what the next 9 months are going to be? I mean, it's going to be thrilling. And if you're selling radio time, think of all the ads you're going to be able to sell and make money with. I mean,
absolutely.
Come on. This makes the Roman Empire look like a, you know, simple park.
It does.
This is going to be one of those things where you sit there and go, oh my goodness, I didn't think they could stoop that low.
Yeah, if this was a movie script, we wouldn't believe it.
I would agree with you if it wasn't for the fact that I do think the Democrats have found some kryptonite with Joe Biden in the sense that he doesn't respond. He's so out to lunch that during debates, Donald Trump's critiques and criticism just goes right by him.
Of course. Did you see the video of him talking to the press the other morning? I mean, he looked like he was 1,000 years old, and with two black holes in his eyes. It was just like, ooh. Last time I saw that was 2 pieces of obsidian. Oh, by the way, Michelle Obama is not going to run for president.
No, I've never believed in that because she doesn't want to deal with the ire that conservative talk radio would bring for her. Look, she had a great life. Being a first lady, you get to focus in on fitness and things like that. That becomes your focus. And when you're the actual candidate, this is why if my wife and I ever ran for office, I'd let her run. She could be the one that has to go out there, and I'm just we'll focus on fitness.
You'll be the man behind the curtain. By the way, gentlemen, something to think about, and I do want to bring this up. I'm sorry, kind of step away from the political, you know, hilarity and toxicity and static and all. You both are married. And
yes. Last time I checked this morning, but again, this show sometimes can change that.
Oh, I know. There's no way. I want you guys to go home and kiss the woman and just hold her at the small of the back and make sure her knees buckle when you give her a kiss, because you haven't done that. And for every listener doing the same thing, please, I'm celebrating or, you know, aggravating the 30-year loss of mine due to an illegal drunk driver.
No.
So 3 days of being married after a year of being together. He took her out, and I'm sorry I'm bringing up some of this.
You lost your wife 3 days after you got married?
Oh, Dwayne.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was just one of those things where it was like, okay, but I do miss holding a woman, holding her by the small of the back and giving her a kiss. You gentlemen have those opportunities. Take care of your families, take care of your kids. All of this, you know, toxicity of the politics, the next 9 months is going to, you know, really be an interesting set of sideshows. I'm really expecting flamethrowers, sharks with laser eyes running around on motorcycles. That's going to make the Nitro Circus guys with Travis Pastrana look like, you know, kid stuff.
Oh, nice reference.
But again, can we all just kind of find a day to sit there and find the person that has made our lives better?
Yeah.
And,
Here.
You know, remind them that, you know, please, without you, I'd be sitting in a, you know, barn somewhere chewing tobacco with a couple of buddies going, let's go fishing.
Yeah. My wife wants
Dwayne,
my wife convinces me to try and be a better person. I don't always reach it, but because of her, I try every single day.
At least you're not in the barn with a bunch of snakes there, Billy.
Well, I don't know. That's a little appealing, Dwayne. Thank you so much for today.
Dwayne, that was a great call. That was the call of the day, man. Great encouragement as well. Michael, we're going to get to you in just a second. By the way, today, 58, partly cloudy. The rain comes tomorrow, 45, and then 37 light snow on Friday. So enjoy the nice day while you can. We're going to get some precipitation starting tomorrow. We're going to get to your calls and texts about Super Tuesday. Donald Trump, now the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party for president, and Nikki Haley withdrawing here in the next 30 minutes or so, at least the news is saying. So we'll get to all that. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. Haiti's Prime Minister is seemingly unable to return to his country after armed gangs sprung 4,000 prisoners at the weekend and attempted to take over the country's main international airport. A former police officer and now leader of the gangs said the Prime Minister must stand down or a civil war and genocide would follow. Prime Minister Ariel Henry was sworn in unelected as a temporary measure after the president was assassinated and was meant to step down by February 7th, but he hasn't. Apple's iPhone sales in China have fallen by 24% in the first 6 weeks of this year compared to a year earlier. That's despite chip sanctions for domestic rival Huawei. Laura Westbrook has more from Hong Kong.
The report by Counterpoint said that while Apple's iPhone sales slipped, China's Huawei saw its sales increase by 64% in the first 6 weeks of 2024. Apple is being squeezed by the likes of Huawei on the premium end of the market, as well as other Chinese rivals in the middle end. Sales by Huawei were helped by the release of its new 5G smartphone that was released last year. Experts said that it triggered a wave of patriotic spending.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
All right, we've got full call lines here and text messages full as well. Before we get to Michael, you're up next. Let's check in with Blake. Blake, what news are you covering right now?
All right, Jeff, obviously more on Nikki Haley ending her campaign. Expected to hear that coming up at the top of the hour in a presser. She'll probably announce that just after 8 o'clock Denver time. Hear from Donald Trump, of course, and a passionate voter. And there's a shark in the water, and it's not a Democrat, believe it or not. That and more coming up.
That's great.
Ooh,
Thanks, Bill.
not a shark.
All right, let's go to the calls. Michael, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Michael.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
We're good.
Good. It's my second time calling you guys. So I'm the Broomfield Independent that talked to you the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Nice.
I love it.
So, hey, I just wanted to touch on a couple little things because being former military and law enforcement, I kind of touched on, I get that violent crime is not up, but theft is through the roof.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's fair. Yeah.
You know, that's obviously driving prices. And if you've got a lot of Democratic cities, especially like California, who are not prosecuting, and you can, you know, steal up to $500 or $1,000 worth of merchandise and not be prosecuted, you can't tell me that does not drive up price.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No. And look at what's happening to these cities like San Francisco, Denver. Businesses are shutting down. You've got real problems in these communities. The more liberal and leftist that those policies get, the worse it ends up for people. So you would think that with total control, these would be like heaven on earth, right? Everybody would be happy and everything would be going great. But these cities, man, I saw San Francisco the other day. Macy's is now pulling out.
Yeah, but the other part, though, is these larger corporations, when we talk about it, and I agree with you, Michael, that theft and property crime, things like that, absolutely up. And so there is a delineation between the violent crime and the property crime. The thing, though, is most of that property crime, you know, when we talk about Biden and the Biden crime wave, those are prosecuted on a local level or a state level. That is not a DOJ thing. So Biden's policies nationally do not necessarily impact what's going on locally. The reason that we have theft not being prosecuted in Denver has not a lot to do with Joe Biden, has a lot to do with Beth McCann.
Yeah,
that is the local.
No,
that's why George Brockler is important, in my opinion, to get him in there. The other part, though, is that when you talk about crime, yes, the theft does raise your prices. The companies, though, do blend that in to their loss statement. The problem, though, is that when we go to the earnings calls, when we go to the time in which those CEOs are talking to their investors, they don't cite crime ever as a higher cost of doing business. They never mention that. They talk about it a little bit, but they actually talk about what they say is we are raising the prices because we can make more money. I brought it up in the last week, this earnings call from Pepsi, 2023. The CEO said directly, our input production cost has returned to pre-production levels. So their cost of producing Pepsi is where it was in 2018, 2019. But they are keeping the prices where they are because the consumer is paying them. So he's encouraging the investors, buy more stock of Pepsi because we are taking the rubes for more money. We're going to get more dividends. That's where the prices are. And for me, being a core capitalist, break the monopolies. That's the reason we're getting screwed. That the reason you're paying more at the grocery store, the reason it's up 11 to 17% are those monopolies, because we have 5 or less companies controlling the vast majority of the products you are buying. That's where the price increase comes from, not from inflation, not from a government policy. It's those guys that are doing
all
it.
of the above. I like the answer E at the bottom. Go ahead, Michael.
It's easy to see that the Biden administration and the Democratic controlled areas are controlling the narrative. Like, you can't tell me that corporations who pay millions in lobbyists to these guys are not, you know, I mean, come on. You know, they tell them which way to swing. They go that way. And even energy. Like, Colorado is one of the top producers of natural gas, and we're not shipping nothing out.
And I agree with you. That is crap. The moratorium on national, that is absolute complete crap. I would stand there next to you holding the protest sign, screaming at Joe Biden at the top of my lungs. I agree with you. That is complete crap.
Michael, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Hey, friends, I want to talk to you a little bit real quick about Dan Kaplan's law, and then we're going to get to Max. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. I've known Dan for years. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. He's also a former seminarian like myself. He has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in a serious motor vehicle crash. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan has also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551. I have it programmed in my phone, or hit dankaplislaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. All right, let's get to Max in Loveland. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Max.
Morning.
Good morning. So trying to describe a graph on the radio isn't going to be well.
That's hard.
But anyways, the death rate or the murder rate, homicide rate for the U.S. was 4.93 in 2018. In 2021, it was 6.81. So that was like a 30% increase of death rate. So I don't think that necessarily your violent statistics are true. I'm just pointing out the statistics.
Yeah, and I just go, I mean, we're kind of going back and forth on the statistics with different callers. I go to what my eyes see and what I experience, and that's what's going to matter when we vote. So my question to you, Max, is you're going to hear from Joe Biden Thursday night at the State of the Union that things are going really well, that the economy is going great, that crime's down, that he takes the border really seriously. Is that going, I mean, do you agree with that? Because that's what Democrats are going to run into.
They're going to say that he's senile. I mean, I had former parent-in-laws, I guess, that went, had the senility part. It's obvious, right? I mean, and everybody in the U.S. anymore has seen senile grandparents, parents, etc., and so everybody can see that he is
the leader of the free world.
He is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
The other one I wanted to tell Billy was that what Trump did that has not been for the economy, that's not been very well documented, I guess, is that he took a freaking hatchet or a chainsaw to the regulatory state. And so his complaint about 4 companies running the whole country as far as the food input costs go is part of the reason that our regulatory state promotes that. And when you have a whole bunch of regulations, you have no innovation and you have no competition.
Well, I would say actually it's not that the barrier there for the no competition and no innovation is monopolies, not the regulations.
Well, no, the regulatory state enables a monopoly.
Yeah, and Donald, and to be fair, and to be fair, Donald Trump did not go after that portion of the regulatory state when he is in office, nor has he talked about it. And Biden has not gone after it either as much. But there are instances inside of the Biden administration. Recently, they did not allow JetBlue and Spirit to merge. That is good for competition. I wish they would have more of that. I think that both sides, GOP and Democrats.
That's not what I'm talking about.
No, but that would have been a coalescing inside the market, and that would have increased prices for the average consumer. That's what I'm talking about. And both parties do it.
So I'm talking about the regulatory state where, like, the EPA says you have to have this car that does a certain CAFE standard, and that CAFE standard means you have to make a more expensive car.
Not necessarily.
So
not necessarily, Max. Not necessarily. Hang on a second.
Yeah,
not necessarily. Hang on a second.
I work in that industry. No. I guarantee you that it costs more money for a car.
Tell me why all the car industries went to 4 cylinders with superchargers or turbochargers. Those are less expensive engines. Those are less expensive engines that are bought inside the cars. And they're put into smaller engines.
More expensive. All the stuff that goes around the engine costs more money for that engine.
But no, the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder. 6-cylinder is more expensive. You slap a turbocharger or supercharger on it, the end result of the cost is going to be a smaller engine. It's going to be more fuel efficiency, and it's going to be less. Yes, it is, and that's where the industry is gone.
That is not true.
That is where the industry is gone.
That is not true. That turbocharger costs money. It costs just as much money as putting 2 cylinders on your engine. What you really gain and benefit is the fuel efficiency of the engine. You do not gain cost on the engine. The car costs more money to put a turbocharger on it, and it costs more money to put DEF things in it, and it costs more money to do all that. All that EPA stuff is a compliance cost.
Yep.
But
I
also,
agree,
but
Frank.
I mean, again, that we could also say it costs more money to put airbags in. It costs more money to put the driver assist in. We cost more money to put seatbelts in. I mean, the idea, I know, but if the argument is we need to strip it down so it is the least expensive car possible, we have no safety features or anything left. And the issue being that where I was taking an issue with Max is he was talking about all of these EPA rules make all these cars more expensive, etc.,
Yes.
and not necessarily based on the end product and where we're going. That's not necessarily where it's going. I understand what he's saying about the 6-cylinder and the 4-cylinder. If it is the same amount of money to create the 4-cylinder and the turbocharger as a 6-cylinder engine, then there isn't necessarily that much of a consumer cost by doing the 4-cylinder with the turbocharger, because you still have the 6-cylinder power. You're just putting it into a smaller car, meaning the smaller car now can be more efficient and more powerful. Then the smaller car is going to be more efficient. And again, he's talking about the size of a 6-cylinder engine in a larger car. It's a smaller
You guys have
car.
lost me. Max, I appreciate
I understand
the
it,
call.
but the economy, that's how the economies of scale work.
Tyler,
Okay.
Frank, we're going to get to you guys next. We do have an open line. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. We're talking mostly the effects of Super Tuesday yesterday and the impact that's going to have on the future of Republicans in Colorado. Donald Trump, the nominee, we're about 13 minutes away from Nikki Haley withdrawing from the Republican presidential primary. So what does this mean for us? Is it good news for Republicans? Donald Trump's the nominee. Let's go. Let's focus in on Joe Biden, or are we just going to suffer worse losses this November? Give us a call or text us on the 710 KNUS app. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, let's get to the calls here. I think Tyler, you're up next from Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning. Hello, Tyler.
Do we have Tyler?
He was there before. I talked to him before.
All right.
I'll put him on hold.
Yep.
Go to the other one.
Tyler, let's go to Frank from Golden. You're on News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Hey, guys. Hey, I think there's a difference between, and I want to kind of draw a little bit of a parallel here between the crime and economy statistics. And I think that it's similar to like the King Canute who ordered the tide not rise when you talk about a president and the economy. The economy is largely cyclical. You're basically, in any administration, just riding a tiger and trying to steer it in a direction.
That's
but
good.
It really is cyclical.
Yeah.
And crime, though, is a different thing with these politicians, because what happened, I think, is that post pandemic and all of the George Floyd things is that there was a kind of a get soft on crime move,
right?
That has immediate and direct result in how people are charged, how crime is handled.
Yep.
And so I think the two things, when you're looking at stats on these things, I think you got to separate what the actual causative effect, cause and effect things are. The other thing I wanted to mention, you guys, and I think this would be an interesting topic, is what is the over and under on the time for the State of the Union address for Biden?
Right.
Like how long?
So
That's a good one. We were doing this yesterday.
I went back and
think.
looked. All of his State of the Union addresses have been over an hour, every single one of them. But you go back to like Richard Nixon, they were only 35 minutes. They weren't that long.
Yeah.
So
now I would say for me, my over under is 60 minutes. And if I am the speechwriter, I'm trying to make it 30 or less because I don't want him out on the stage ever. and the fewer times I give him to freeze and say dumb things, the better off we are. What do you think? What's your over under, Frank?
I honestly, I think if I was in Vegas or an odds maker, I would set it at 45 because
I
I'm
do
splitting
too.
that baby.
It's good.
And I just don't see how many puppy uppers you can give the guy to keep him even half on task.
Ooh,
I mean,
I like that, Frank.
It's just, I don't know, man. I you know what else I think is going to happen?
Yeah, what?
Or at least this is my prediction, is that I think the Democrat legislative members are all going to stand and cheer for the smallest of things, which happens all the time anyway. But it's going to be able to string it out and allow for more.
And they're going to try to have enthusiasm. They're going to show enthusiasm. Yeah, they are going to go nuts. Yeah,
I actually think that Biden
that's
does
good.
pretty good if he's just reading a teleprompter.
Yeah.
When he goes out there to just read it, I've noticed this in previous press conferences, he does okay. It's when he has to get questions that he's not ready for.
Oh, absolutely. The issue is that Biden can read the night book to the kids, but he can't answer their questions about science or math. He can't do that. And Frank, I love what you were saying right there, because I think your messaging on the difference between the economy and crime are 110% right. The problem I have is I think that the GOP will not pick up that message. If they argue violent crime, that's not going to work. But if they argue the petty crime and they tie it back to George Floyd and the idea that we had to understand the criminals and this petty crime leads to the violent crime, now you have a message that resonates, because people aren't watching individuals get murdered all the time in the Denver streets, but we're watching your stuff get stolen. That's the message. Frank, you're right on. I appreciate it.
That's a good one. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Frank. All right, joining us in studio next, Ted Harvey, running for Congressional District 4. We got all the tough questions coming from him. For him. Get to know him. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It's Wednesday, March 6th, and Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee
How's it only
for
Wednesday?
Republicans for president. Nikki Haley, at any moment now, we're watching Fox, is going to withdraw. So we'll see. That's the news out there. Time for her, in my opinion, to withdraw and then get behind Donald Trump and let's go fight Joe Biden.
Is she going to stand on that independent platform, or is she going to pull a Cruz and say, I love you so much? Smooch, smooch, smooch. Is it going to be a bunch of smooches? I'm curious. I'm curious today.
In just a second, we're going to hear from Ted Harvey. He's in studio with us. He's running for Congressional District 4 in the state of Colorado, a storied past in history here with Colorado. And so you're not going to want to miss that interview. While we're getting him ready, Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff and Bill. 36 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Nikki Haley will end her presidential campaign holding a presser about right now. As a matter of fact, Super Tuesday voting has concluded, and the presidential primary has Joe Biden winning the Democratic Party. Former President Trump continued his string of victories.
Well, thank you very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this. There's never been anything so conclusive. This was an amazing night, an amazing day. It's been an incredible period of time in our country's history. It's been sad in so many ways, but I think it's going to be inspiring because we're going to do something that, frankly, nobody's been able to do for a long time.
Trump dominated last night with the exception of Vermont. The list of potential vice president picks for Trump's campaign is growing and getting longer.
I have my list. I have some folks who I like, but I would say this in all seriousness. I think the list is actually growing and getting longer.
That's according to Jason Miller, a senior advisor for Trump's presidential campaign. He added the campaign is still far from making a decision. Brian from Arvada is a voter, and he says it's time for all Republicans in Colorado to support Trump.
Look yourself in the mirror and your kids in the mirror when you don't vote for Trump this time out, because that's what killed us last time. And if we have an up and up election, if we don't change all the election laws like we did before and allow mass voter balloting and non-verification, Trump will win in a landslide.
Commerce City police say a 14-year-old boy caused a major crash that sent 6 people to the hospital Tuesday. It happened on East 88th near Dahlia, where investigators say a car driven by the teen struck a guardrail, veered into oncoming traffic, and crashed head-on into a minivan. 2 people in the van were seriously hurt, while the 14-year-old and 3 other boys ejected from the car. A medical helicopter had to make an emergency landing near Fort Morgan Tuesday. The helicopter experienced a bird strike shortly after 3 o'clock, and the pilot made a mayday call to Fort Morgan Emergency Dispatch. And just in time for spring break. Spring break is back, and a great white shark has been spotted off the Texas coast. Chip Michaelov with the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy says it went to South Padre and is now headed back up to Corpus Christi.
We've had a handful go into the Gulf of Mexico, and they usually stop around the Mississippi River, but we've never had one go all the way to Texas and cruise the beach.
This shark, swallow you whole. Shaking, tenderizing, down you go.
One of my favorites of all time. Jaws is near. 30 in Lakewood, 34 in Aurora, 36 in Denver. Be careful of the sharks. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
I'm going to break in. Nikki Haley's giving her remarks right now, so we'll cut into her.
Of hatred and division. I will continue to promote all those values, as is the right of every American. I sought the honor of being your president, but in our great country, being a private citizen is privilege enough in itself, and that's a privilege I very much look forward to enjoying. In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I wish anyone well who would be America's president. Our country is too precious to let our differences divide us. I have always been a conservative Republican and always supported the Republican nominee. But on this question, as she did on so many others, Margaret Thatcher provided some good advice when she said, quote, "Never just follow the crowd. Always make up your own mind." It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that. At its best, politics is about bringing people into your cause, not turning them away. And our conservative cause badly needs more people. This is now his time for choosing. I end my campaign with the same words I began it, from the book of Joshua. I direct them to all Americans, but especially to so many of the women and girls out there who put their faith in our campaign. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for God will be with you wherever you go. In this campaigin,
She should have endorsed him. That's disappointing. Nikki Haley should have endorsed
That's what we're
Donald
listening
Trump.
for.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get to a much better conversation than listening to Nikki Haley gripe about losing a presidential nomination. Joining us in studio is Ted Harvey. Ted Harvey has a storied career here in Colorado. He served at the Independence Institute as the program director, and then he was elected to both the State House and State Senate, worked as the leader of the Committee to Defend the President and the Committee to Defeat the President, which were PACs in support of Donald Trump. Ted, thanks so much for being in the studio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's a big morning. Donald Trump
is
essentially the nominee. Let's start there. What do you think of this? Is this good for the country, good for the state of Colorado?
Well, it's definitely good for the country. It's good for the Republican Party. We can now unite around Donald Trump and focus on who the real enemy is, which is Joe Biden and the Democrats and the radical policies of this administration. And I think it's great for America because I think Donald Trump was undoubtedly the best president of my lifetime. And that says a lot because I worked in the Reagan administration. I'm a huge supporter of Ronald Reagan. But if you look at all of the policies that Donald Trump was able to get passed in his short 4 years while under attack from his own administration and from the intelligence community and the social media and the mainstream media, he had an incredible success rate across on all of the issues that I'm passionate about. So I'm excited that he is undoubtedly the nominee for the Republican Party. And I think if the naysayers out there will come around and get behind his candidacy, we can focus on who the real enemy is.
Yeah. Do you think Nikki Haley should have just straight up endorsed Donald Trump?
Well, if a tree falls in the wood and nobody's listening, does the tree really fall? Nikki Haley had no support across the country. She didn't win but one small state. And I think that everybody in this party realizes that Donald Trump was going to be the nominee 2 years ago. And I told I was always saying that DeSantis shouldn't get into the race. He's not going to win. The base of the Republican Party is wholly behind Donald Trump, and it was a mistake for DeSantis or anybody else to get into the race. It was going to hurt their own legacy, because I think DeSantis is one of the best governors in the country, if not the best governor in the country. And I was disappointed when he got in, and same thing with Nikki Haley.
We're talking with Ted Harvey. He's running for Congress. You want to join Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. as a representative for Congressional District 4. Very competitive primary. Why are you the best guy to send to Washington, D.C. to represent the people of CD4?
Well, I think you just have to look at my record. I spent 13 years in the Colorado legislature fighting for the conservative values that this district has believed in forever. And I looked at the candidates that were running, many of them very good friends of mine, good people, but none of them are as conservative as I would want them to be. None of them have a record on the principles that my family and I believe in. And they've all of the elected officials have compromised on one issue or another in their term in the legislature. And then the others, I firmly believe Congress is not a place to learn on the job. And we need to send somebody to Washington, D.C. who has a background and the ability and the experience to stand up to the establishment in both parties, and to stand up to the money in Washington, D.C. that wants to control everything and has the ability to defend the conservative values on social media and mainstream media of why our principles and our values are the right principles for this country, and unapologetically stand behind them.
Now, there's two candidates that were close to Donald Trump. I mean, you've run two super PACs that were connected to him. And then Lauren Boebert is kind of touting her closeness to Trump. She got the endorsement from Donald Trump for this seat. What is your response to that?
Well, good for her. I think Donald Trump is, if anything, incredibly loyal. And every congressperson in Washington, D.C. that stood up for Donald Trump and defended him over the last 7 years, Donald Trump has endorsed all of them. And he's very loyal, and I give him credit for that. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't say anything about the voters of the 4th Congressional District. We had a debate out in the Eastern Plains over the weekend on Sunday night. 4 counties came together to have a debate, and she stood up and announced that her endorsement, and it went across like crickets in that field. And it was out in Jerry Sonnenberg's area and Holtorf's area. And so they're, home field advantage. And Jerry came in first place in the straw poll. I came in second place. Lauren Boebert came in third place, and Holtorf came in fourth place. So I was excited that we were able to come in second place in Jerry Sonnenberg's backyard. And I think that speaks volumes of the voters in the 4th Congressional District, that they want somebody like myself who will boldly stand up, but not be Lauren Boebert that came across the Rocky Mountains 400 miles away to try to win a seat that's not her district.
Yeah, you're out there talking to voters. Is that a big issue for them? This kind of notion of carpetbagging, moving from CD3. I think a lot of people looked at her in CD3 and appreciated the fighting spirit she had over there. And now she's come over to CD4. There's a lot of personal issues wrapped up in that. We don't necessarily have to get into that. But what are you hearing from people about her? Because she's got the money lead and she has the Trump endorsement.
Yeah. It's not, I think she's going to be surprised. I think she is surprised that this district is not just opening their arms to her and putting out the welcome wagon for her. I'm a huge fan of hers. I think that she did a great job over there. She has had some personal issues, and I think she lost the support of her Christian conservative base that got her elected 4 years ago in the 3rd Congressional District. And that's why she was going to lose a district that's a +9 Republican voter registration district. And so she honestly desperately had to figure out a way to stay in Congress and hold on to the power and that gold ring that she currently has. And so she's looked at CD4 to be her ability to stay in Congress and hold on to that power and the everything that comes along with that.
So let's talk about the district itself. This is a very unique district since it's been redistricted. It now includes major portions of suburban Douglas County, as well as very rural Eastern Colorado. You're competing against guys like Jerry Sonnenberg and Holtorf who come from that eastern part. I think your districts, when you represented in the House and the Senate, were more kind of the suburban Douglas County districts.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but how can you bridge all of those differences that CD4 has within it?
Well, I think I'm probably the most unique candidate in this race to be able to do that. Douglas County is 47% of the Republicans in the CD4. This is a very conservative district. Whoever wins the primary is going to be the congressman. Douglas County is 47% of the district. My district was all wholly in Douglas County, so I represented Douglas County for 13 years. I know the issues. I know the people. I've been very actively involved in Douglas County, but I also served all 13 years that I was in the legislature on the Ag, Natural Resource, and Energy Committee. So I have a master's in environmental law and policy. So my area of expertise is on natural resource and Colorado water law. So I'm able to go out to the Eastern Plains. They know who I am. I've been passionately defending their private property rights, whether it's water rights or natural resources or land rights, for decades. And I speak their language. So I don't think Jerry, God bless him, I love him to death, but he can't speak Douglas County, and Holtorf can't speak Douglas County. I'm from Douglas County, but I definitely speak to the voters of the Eastern Plains as well because of my experience on the Ag Committee.
I want to ask you about that. A master's in environmental sciences?
Well,
is that what it was?
My
Was
master's.
your mom happy about that?
Are
they celebrating?
It's my concentration. My master's is in public policy with a concentration in environmental law and policy.
So is, with that background, is climate change happening?
Well, it is definitely happening. It's undeniable. Climate change is happening. It happens every day. I think it's going to snow on Friday. But
that, to be fair, though, that's weather, not climate. And you know that. Yeah, I'm just teasing. But yes, you know that.
But yeah, I think that man-made climate change is an absolute lie out of the pit of hell, and it's an effort by the Marxists, the socialists, the globalists to try to take money out of your and my pocket and give it to China and other places who are building huge coal plants every month, and they're not being held accountable for anything. And if people were truly worried about man-made global climate change, they would be putting the same restrictions on the rest of the world that they're putting on America, and they're not.
To be fair, though, isn't the restrictions around it different than whether or not climate change exists? Aren't they two separate issues?
Well, I agree. Climate change exists. We've had climate change throughout the history of the world, and you can look at all
you and I've
of
had it in our lives. I mean, the most direct one that I've used here on the show is Tornado Alley. When we were growing up, we had a Tornado Alley. We also had a tornado season. Those do not exist anymore. We have tornadoes in December and February in places that never had tornadoes the entire time growing up. That is climate change. That is proof that climate change exists. But I agree with you that we can debate the functionality and the impact that humans have on it.
That's
and
right.
You're absolutely 110% right that many of the constraints we place on ourselves are incredibly ineffective because of the global economy. While China is leaning into many of the EV and green technology, you're right about their coal production plants. And they are doing it, and they're building those EVs in the most, I would say, climate unfriendly ways possible. So I would agree with you that I would say climate change absolutely exists, but functionally, the way we are going about trying to mitigate it, again, if we can have that mitigation, is ridiculous at times. It's silly.
It is. I mean,
yeah.
Yes, Tornado Alley may be changing, and so were the glaciers that made up the Great Lakes. We've had climate change throughout the history of the world, and that's not going to change. And the efforts that the radical environmentalists are trying to put on the taxpayers and the producers in our country it's irrational, and it's hurting our economy and hurting the future of our country in an effort to push something that is not factual.
Yeah.
We're talking with Ted Harvey in studio. He's running for Congressional District 4 as a Republican. Ted, Republicans haven't been doing great in Colorado in the last few election cycles. I'm just going to throw this out there. What do they need to do differently to win in the state of Colorado and not have it be such a blue state all the time?
Well, I think they need to boldly stand up for the principles and the values that our platform is. you've seen way too many statewide candidates that are afraid to take a stand on any issue, and point out that it's the Democrats that are radical, that they're pushing abortion laws that say that you can kill babies when the mother is dilating. They're the ones that are saying that we should have sanctuary cities and open up our borders to allow anybody from anywhere in the world to come in. And you look at the news today where it says 370,000 illegal immigrants were sent on planes all across the country. And that is a radical thing. We should not cower back and be in the fetal position because we believe in sovereign borders. Republicans for decades have fallen back into the fetal position when they're called racist because they believe in secure borders. That's not racist. That's standing up for America. The Democrats are the radicals, and we need to nominate candidates that will take the Democrats straight on and call them the radicals that they are, and stand up for common sense values. That's what the majority of Americans believe, that we should have sovereign borders. The majority of Americans believe that we should have fair and free trade, but make sure that we're holding our trading partners accountable when they come after us. Those are simple things that make common sense. And what's been a problem is we've had Republican nominees that fail to defend the principles that we believe in.
You remind me of how Ken Buck started when he first got into office. So what happened to Ken in your perspective?
Gosh, that's hard. I've always, thought highly of Ken. I wouldn't say we were friends, but we've always been friendly. And I think January 6th was something that he was very frustrated by. I think that he used to work for Dick Cheney. He went to law school with Liz Cheney. I think that he, out of loyalty to the Cheney family, he stuck with her and voted to put her in leadership after she worked with Nancy Pelosi in the January 6th committee hearing and everything. And he got such pushback from voting to put her on and keep her in leadership that I think he was very frustrated with his own constituency. And he had a primary because he barely made the ballot in the 2 years ago at the 4th Congressional Assembly because so many people in the district were upset. And I think he started making even more bad votes, and he got to a point where he felt that he was no longer obligated to represent his own constituents and went his own direction and realized that he was not going to be able to run again. And so he realized that his own voters were going to throw him out this time.
What do you hope to achieve with your office? What do you want to, what's your legacy going to be 4 terms into this?
Well, my legacy is to make America great again. I mean, honestly, I was a conservative. I was America first before Donald Trump came up with the line and was running for office. And when I was in the legislature, I carried 13 bills to fight illegal immigration. There's no other candidate in this race that's ever introduced a bill dealing with illegal immigration.
And you got the endorsement of Tom Tancredo.
Got the endorsement of Tom Tancredo. I'm the only candidate that's ever passed a bill on protecting life. I passed the bill to require parental notification before a minor can get an abortion. I carried 6 different pro-life bills. I carried multiple bills on election integrity. No other candidate has ever carried any bills on election integrity. We need to go to Washington, D.C., and we need to fight for America. We need to stop worrying about all of these other things that are going on and focus on the producers in America, the taxpayers in America, and make sure that we're putting America first. And the first bill that I will carry will be the Remain in Mexico policy that Trump put in place as an executive order, which literally brought illegal immigration to a halt. And on day one, Joe Biden passed an executive order to remove that. We need to put that in statute so that no president can just, with a stroke of a pen, remove the Remain in Mexico policy, and that needs to be the law of the land.
All right, we're talking with Ted Harvey. He's running for Congressional District 4. If you have any text messages for Ted, give us a text at the 710 KNUS app or give us a call at 303-696-1971. Ted Harvey's website, tedharvey.com. Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one because I'm not sure it's a fair question. I'm really struggling with asking this one because I think that Ted of the group of people for the district is a strong choice. I think that, you know, even if you're not supporting him and he ends up being the representative, that's, you know, he's going to do a good job for you. I think that he really lines up well, as some of the other candidates do, for that district. But I want to go back to the Making America Great Again. That's a phrase that has always kind of hiccuped to me. When is making it again? Where are we going back to? What are we calling back to? Because I think it's a marketing statement that's really good, because it allows anybody to fill in the tail end of it with whatever they believe it is. So I'm curious, if we're going to make America great again, what's your lodestone? Where are we going? What's your North Star? When were we great, and what are we going for?
When we were the shining city upon a hill that said free markets actually work, that we don't need to rely on government to be the provider for everybody, that we allowed and encouraged people to seek and fulfill everything that God created them to be, and to seek their dreams and values. Right now, we have government that is overshadowing everything that we do, that is in the middle of everything that we do, and we need to get government out of the way. We need to have a fair and just legal system that will encourage entrepreneurialism and work in that direction as well. We have far too many taxes, way too big a government, and we need to get our system of government back to where it was supposed to be, where the American people come first, not the bureaucrats and the globalists and establishment of both parties in Washington, D.C.
There is so much in that statement that I agree with you on. There's a lot of it in there. But I'm going to go back to the beginning of your answer and focus on the free markets. And that is a real issue that I have with a second Trump administration. Trump is not a free market fan. He is a fan of tariffs, and he has said specifically that he wants to enact a 10% tariff on all imported goods. And the problem I have at the core of it is Trump does not understand that that is the end consumer, you and I, paying the tariff. And I have a problem that if he's going to enact an economic policy and doesn't understand the fundamentals behind it and who it's hurting, he thinks he's hurting the importers. He's not. He's hurting you and I, and that's not a free market motive. And he is going to raise prices at least 10% across the board on all of us. So how is that a free market?
No, he won't.
Yeah,
no, he won't. No, he won't. Did he? He had 4 years to do it, and he didn't do it.
Yes,
What he did do is
Ted, with respect, yes, he did. He put tariffs on imports from China. The imports from
and
China
they're not
rose,
there anymore, right?
No,
they're not there anymore. The reason why he threatened that and said that he would do that is to bring China to the table and force them to agree to the trade policy that he said he wanted when he first ran for office, and he held their feet to the fire and forced them to come to the table, and he got everything that he wanted in that trade agreement.
He didn't get everything he wanted.
Yes,
and
he did.
And the tariffs are still in place. Some of my comments on Biden, some of the problem is that he did not take away all those tariffs, and Trump specifically raised the tariffs, and it did raise prices here. It raised prices on steel imports. It raised prices on electronics over and over again. That is not a free market solution. You can't say that he leans into free markets when the first thing he says is he's going to have a massive tariff and he's going to expand it.
He brought China to the table and got the trade agreement that he told everybody he would get, and everybody across the political spectrum in Washington, D.C. and in the mainstream media said Donald Trump will never be able to get that trade agreement that he said he would be pushing. And lo and behold, he got 99% of what he said he would want because he forced China to come to the table with the threats of tariffs and everything else.
He also pulled out of TPP, which was
exactly right.
Yeah, which was an everybody but China trade agreement. It was shutting China out of that entire realm between the Asian Pacific Rim and Australia. And the first thing he did is torpedo that, which put us in a worse place based on international trade. So I disagree that fundamentally he's a market economist and he understands the function of it. But I understand. I have to talk to the phone.
Talking with Ted Harvey, he's running for Congressional District 4. A few questions coming in on the text message line. How's your fundraising compared to Boebert, Sonnenberg, and Flora?
Well, it's definitely not $1.5 million like Lauren Boebert brought over the mountain when everybody across this country was giving money to her to protect a swing district that we needed to hold to keep the majority in Washington, D.C. I don't think she's given that money back to any of her donors that gave it to her for that. So, yeah, we're well behind Lauren Boebert, who brought the money over. I think we're going to be competitive with all of the other candidates that are running in this race. And I am the only candidate that's going through the assembly process and only the assembly process.
Really?
All the other ones are petitioning on. And when I say all the other ones, there's 11 candidates in this race.
I've run into
I'm the only one that's not petitioning on. They are going to have to spend a fortune to get the signatures necessary to get on the ballot. And I'm not spending that money.
Only
to do
one
that.
pure caucus route.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right. I've got 4 questions. I've asked all these questions of other candidates. Dave Williams got them yesterday. Would you support mass deportation?
Absolutely.
Would you support a federal ban on abortion?
I would carry it.
Would you support invoking the 25th Amendment to remove Joe Biden from office?
That is an effort by the his own administration to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that there's nobody in this country that can look at what's going on with this presidency and think that he is in charge. He is not in charge. Somebody else is in charge, but it's not Joe Biden, and he couldn't pass a cognitive test if he had to.
Would you support the impeachment of Mayorkas?
Absolutely.
So a difference there.
But actually,
with your
I
predecessor.
think we should. Mayorkas works for the man where the buck stops, which is Joe Biden. And I would I support Mayorkas? Sure. But I think where we need to be focusing on is the guy who actually is the man in charge, quote unquote. And that should be Joe Biden. And he's going to get impeached in November of 2024.
There you go. Ted Harvey's joining us, Congressional District 4, his website, tedharvey.com, tedharvey.com. We're going to grab a few of these calls. Kay, I think, wants to talk a little bit about Ted Harvey. Before we get to those calls, imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go with their all 5-star reviews. Here's what some of the overjoyed customers are saying. We're so happy with our kitchen that now we're planning to do our bathroom as well. The quality of the products are excellent. The quality of the labor installation is outstanding. The customer service is unsurpassed. I absolutely recommend Roll-em-out shelves. They are very good listeners, and they have great suggestions for cabinetry solutions. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you, rollemoutshelves.com. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. Biden and Trump have cemented their positions as frontrunners for their respective parties' presidential nomination, both winning nearly all their primaries on Tuesday. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
Donald Trump said it was an amazing night and that there'd never been anything so conclusive. He didn't mention his remaining rival in the Republican race, Nikki Haley, and the results will be a major disappointment for her. But she did score victories across urban areas with high numbers of college-educated voters, which could suggest a potential weakness for Donald Trump. Joe Biden hailed his victories, saying that millions of Americans had made their voices heard.
The FBI is searching for an alleged Iranian spy, someone it thinks may be involved in attempts to kill current and former US officials. The wanted notice, published on the agency's website, says 42-year-old Majid Farahani is attempting to recruit assassins in the US. Iran is allegedly pursuing revenge against the United States after the Pentagon killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in a drone strike in early 2020. Farahani reportedly travels between Iran and Venezuela and has already been sanctioned by the Treasury Department. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
We are having a ton of fun. In the studio is Ted Harvey. You know that name here in Colorado. He used to serve at the Independence Institute and then was elected to the Colorado House of Representatives and then the state Senate as well. Served President Trump with two different PACs, the committee to defend the president, then the committee to defeat the president. And he's thrilled with the results of yesterday. We're going to get to him in just a second. Blake, let us know the news you're working on.
Oh, yep. Nikki Haley, of course, ends her presidential campaign and says, in all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee. So she does not officially endorse Trump. We'll talk about that and hear from President Trump from last night. And Adams County officials searching for a 17-year-old boy. He's been missing for about a week. So we'll have that and much more coming up at the top of the hour. Jeff?
Best newsman in Colorado,
Yes.
Blake Olson.
Also the only one we know, but that's okay. I love you, Blake. It's good.
Some of the other ones at Channel 9 won't even talk to us.
Not at all.
Whatever.
Doesn't hurt our feelings, though.
It doesn't. I think you have to be a female conservative to get their attention, and then they just beat you up over it.
Yes, exactly. There was something else I was going to say, but the filter in my head said, no, you'll have to talk to HR again. So no, I'm going to keep that in here for myself.
I love those memes where the guy's like, HR said my joke was so funny, they'd love to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. That's normally me. Yeah.
Let's go to Kay, line 2. She wants to talk specifically about Ted Harvey, who's in studio with us. He's running for Congressional District 4, website tedharvey.com, tedharvey.com. Kay, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Kay.
Good morning. I went on a trip with Ted Harvey to Grand Junction, and I am so happy that he is running for office. If you want somebody that really loves the United States of America, that is Ted. I just am so happy, and I hope he makes it. And I'm a little nervous, but I just wanted to say that. Yay.
That's
well,
great.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
Nice.
I appreciate it. That bus trip that she's talking about was when Obama was in office and he was pushing the Obamacare, and he wouldn't come to Denver because he knew that the rallies and the opposition would be so big. So he went to Grand Junction rather than Denver. And so I chartered a bus, and we had about 60 people go over to Grand Junction to protest him. So it was great. We had a lot of great patriots that went over to Grand Junction.
You've been active in Colorado and trying to advance conservative issues in Colorado for many years.
For many, many years. I'm not going to say how old I am, but today is my birthday.
But to this point, Ted, I want to talk to you about this. There's people that are in the movement because they care about the issues, right? And it doesn't matter what they're doing. It's like me, running a think tank at CCU, being on the radio. Maybe someday I'll run for office. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. I get to wake up every single day and go out there and try to advance Christian conservative values in the public square. That's what matters to me.
The radio show.
I did.
Did you? Oh, did you?
Yeah, I thought I did.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He
Okay.
threw that in there.
Okay, good. I was like, wait, I'm over here going, wait, hey, my friend is the.
I actually am really here for you, Bill.
It is kind of special. We have that moment in the morning, Ted, again, Ted, that's where Jeff and I will hold hands, and we will gaze longingly in each other's eyes and go.
As we were
All
saying
right.
during the break, I don't understand how they can do this
They
together.
get along without killing each other.
I know. We have so much fun off the air, though.
Helps with the separation.
Yes, it does.
But Ted, you strike me as a guy that will continue to do this work irregardless of what happens in the primary. It's about the mission itself.
That's exactly
because we
right.
run into these guys that I've never really heard of them before they pop up, and they think it would be nice to be called a congressman. They like that idea. Walk into a room, I'm called a congressman. I've been successful in business, but you seem to be a movement-oriented guy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why I've been involved in this fight for all of these decades. It is the movement. My family and I certainly haven't done it for some get rich. I made $30,000 a year for 13 years when I was in the legislature, and my wife was a charter school teacher. So I can assure you we didn't get rich doing that. But it is the cause. It is the movement to save America and to push our conservative Christian values forward and to fight the radical immoral left that is trying to destroy America and trying to destroy the values that our country was founded upon. And that's why I am in this fight. And it certainly isn't for the title, but I do believe that we need to elect solid, godly men and women to go to Washington, D.C. to fight for our country and to make sure that the globalist establishment in Washington, D.C. fail. And that's why I've decided to get into this race.
Let's take a few calls. Johnny, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Johnny. Thanks so much for waiting.
Morning.
Yeah, if I was in this district, I would probably put a vote towards him.
God bless you.
Nice.
But, I was just thinking about, you were saying like Haley not endorsing. If Democrats gave you money, and maybe they missed this with Ron and those other guys, when they gave Ron the money, they probably had her sign a clause saying, if we give you this money, you have to promise not to endorse. You can go around it, but you can't say it. And you can keep that money in your coffers and we won't put up any fuss or whatever. And if you do something like Fannie did and you use that money for your boyfriend, no big deal.
Johnny, I appreciate the call. I do think there's probably something to the fact that Democrats were pouring a lot of money into Nikki Haley's campaign, that she's not quite maybe part of her reason for not endorsing Trump right away is that reality.
Well, I don't know if it's Democrats, but I definitely think it is the establishment class that wants to be able to control the politicians in Washington, D.C., and they certainly don't have control of Donald Trump, and that's what frustrates them is typically both in the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, and in the White House, the establishment has control of Washington, D.C. and all of the politicians there. And everybody knows Donald Trump is not going to be owned by anybody.
We got a good question here from a text messenger. I've written about this. Douglas County's changed. When Romney ran, it was a bank for us. So we knew we could run up a lot of votes and Romney was going to win by 20 points in Douglas County. So we focused all of our attention on Jeffco and Arapahoe. Heidi Ganahl barely won. It was a 20-point swing in Douglas County. 20-point swing. Is a lot of the development that's taking place in Douglas County resulting in a demographic change for that county?
Well, I think you've seen that demographic change over the last 2 decades. Arapahoe County used to be almost all Republican led in almost every seat in that county. And now there's not one Republican elected in Arapahoe County. Same thing with Jefferson County. I think demographically, the whole metropolitan area is aging and changing. But I think Douglas County specifically is going to be one of the last holdouts to change because we have a conservative school board, we have conservative county commissioners, we have conservative folks that are going to be fighting and putting common sense conservative principles forward that will attract conservatives to come to Douglas County. Just like in Boulder, you have lefty policies up there and people that are lefty want to live in Boulder. Douglas County will be the stronghold for conservatives in the metro area. And if you want to have, low taxes and more freedom, come to Douglas County, and you want to have good schools that aren't pushing all kinds of immoral things through the school system, come to Douglas County.
Let's go to Nancy, line 1 from Aurora. Nancy used to work with Ted. Did we lose?
I just fat fingered it.
All right, we'll see if she calls
I'm
back
sorry,
here.
Nancy.
In the meantime, while she's calling back, are you concerned about where our state and country are headed? Then you need insight and knowledge on important issues related to faith, family, and freedom. Colorado is at a difficult time seeing an influx in migrants, so inevitably, home protection and security are vital. That's why I'd like to invite you to the Tanner Gun Show this weekend inside the Crowne Plaza, where you'll get the best home protection options available and be able to talk to the most knowledgeable gun vendors in the state about what is right for your situation. The Tanner Gun Show is this Friday from 3 to 7, Saturday from 9 to 5, and Sunday from 10 to 4. And your ticket is good for all 3 days. Every Tanner Gun Show has hundreds of tables selling guns, and it doesn't matter where you live or where the seller lives, because at each show, there are lots of gun shops willing to help with transfers and background checks. That ensures convenience for you. Tickets available online at tannergunshow.com. That's tannergunshow.com, or at the door the day of the event, and parking is always free at the Crown Plaza. All right, let's go to Nancy Aurora. Used to work with Ted.
Hey, Ted. I don't know if you remember me. I worked for the Senate.
Yes. How are you?
I'm fine. Is your birthday today?
It is.
No, seriously, wait. He didn't tell us that? Okay, wait, hang on, Nancy. Okay, since you did this. All right, Jeff, you know what we're doing here.
Oh,
okay?
no.
On the
We're going
air.
to lose all of our listeners.
No, wait, I don't care. They'll come back later. Nancy, you got to help us out here. We are going to sing on the air to Ted because we're going to embarrass
dear
him.
God.
And we're going to embarrass each other because that's what we're going to do here. Are you ready,
Thanks,
Nancy? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ted Harvey. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, that was awful. That was great.
That
Thank you so
was
much.
horrible. There
Thank
are
you, Nancy.
dogs that are whining right now all across the city of Denver.
Oh,
Thank you, Nancy.
Well, I just want to wish you well, Ted, in your run for Congress.
Thank you.
I'm reading a really good book right now called Blood Money by Peter.
Yes.
You get a chance, read it.
Yep. That is the Biden family and many folks in Washington, D.C. And that's why I'm going, is to clean up the mess in Washington, D.C. and fight back for our conservative, godly values.
Joining us in studio, Ted Harvey's running for Congressional District 4. You can learn all about him at tedharvey.com. tedharvey.com. Thanks so much for being a wonderful friend of the show. Wish you the very best. We'll have all of these clips of all the interviews we're doing for all the candidates on the 710KNUS YouTube channel, as well as my YouTube channel, Jeff Hunt, Colorado, so you can be informed and make the right decision about who to send to Congress. We'll get to Jeff and Jack. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. So now we're taking music requests for the sing songs.
Pearl Jam, not bad.
That's good.
Is this your doing?
No. This is just in the system, but this is good. This is early on. This is one of the first things they worked on. This is one of the early demos that they sent to Eddie Vedder before he was actually part of the band.
Really?
Because they were coming out of Mother Love Bone, and they'd sent it to him when he came in. In fact, someday we're going to have to do a Temple of the Dog and talk about that super group and what happened. There's a very important song that creates this blend between Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, but I'm wasting time right now. But we'll do that someday.
All right, 58 today. Rain and snow, 45 tomorrow. Light snow and colder Friday, 37. So enjoy it while you can. You get back up into the 50s, 58 Sunday. So you got that coming. Not too bad. All right, we've got Jeff and John. You guys are up next. You've been sticking around. We appreciate that. We're going to get to you as we get through this, so stick around. We're talking Donald Trump, Nikki Haley. Nikki's out.
Yeah.
Is that good for Republicans?
She didn't endorse Trump.
She should have. Big
What does it
mistake,
mean?
Nikki. Big mistake. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Nine a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver. It's Wednesday, March 6th. Donald Trump winning 14 of 15 states during Super Tuesday yesterday. Nikki Haley withdrawing from the race just about an hour ago, refusing to endorse Donald Trump, saying that he needs to earn it.
Ooh, is that a surprise?
Text message here, which I think is right. Nikki wants something for endorsement. It's not free.
Ooh,
3,300.
good insight.
Good insight. What do you think it is?
Oh, God.
I don't
Would
think she wants a cabinet position.
See,
She's already had that.
That was the first thing I'm looking at is his cabinet, and I don't think that works. I don't think that she's playing for Veep because I don't think that works for Trump's base.
Right.
So I don't think. And the other one is the No Labels Party. I know they've said, hey, we'd be interested. Well, of course, you morons, because you have nobody. You have no candidate. You'd be interested in anybody with a pulse that you can run at this point. Although the only way that works is if Nikki wants to be excommunicated. It's the only way.
Yeah,
that works.
right.
Yeah.
At that point, you're done in the party.
Yeah,
and
there's nothing. You can't even be that elder statesman. You can't even be the Dick Wadhams coming back and offering critique. You can't do that at all.
You're in the
Like, no
Liz
fun in that.
Cheney category.
Yeah, which again, I'm surprised she's in that category. I'm so surprised
she chose to do it to herself.
See, I think you guys did it to her, but that's of course because I sit outside the tent. But no.
All right, let's get to Blake with the news. Good morning, Blake.
The punchline there is she wants another war. 44 and sunny in Denver, expecting
Blake
highs in
wins.
the upper 50s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story. Nikki Haley is dropping out of the race for the White House. The announcement from the former South Carolina governor comes after her crushing defeat to Donald Trump during last night's Super Tuesday. Haley was the last GOP candidate challenging former President Trump for the party's nomination. 60 minutes ago, as Jeff mentioned, she did not officially endorse Trump.
It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that. At its best, politics is about bringing people into your cause, not turning them away. And our conservative cause badly needs more people. This is now his time for choosing.
The former president prepared to make more history.
Well, thank you very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this.
Hey, Ted Harvey, a candidate running in CD4, supports Trump and feels his experience separates him from the newcomers and the others who have let us down on certain issues.
All of the elected officials have compromised on one issue or another in their term in the legislature. And then the others, I firmly believe Congress is not a place to learn on the job. And we need to send somebody to Washington, D.C. who has a background and the ability and the experience to stand up to the establishment in both parties.
He joined Jeff and Bill last hour. The Quality Inn illegal immigrant shelter in Aurora closed its doors on Tuesday. It's the first of 4 migrant shelters set to shut down in the Denver metro area as the city works to address a multi-million-dollar budget deficit. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston says the closures will save the city around $60 million in the 2024 budget. The Adams County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help in searching for a missing 17-year-old boy. The family of Edgar Armendariz Barunda has they say that he's been missing for a week and is without the medication he needs to take for mental health condition. Armendariz Barunda was last seen around noon on February 28th near 84th and Pecos, and was wearing blue jeans and a black shirt with a Puma logo. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call 911 or the Adams County Sheriff's Office. It's 40 in Lafayette, 42 in Centennial, and 44 in Denver. The Nuggets lose last night, 117-107 to the Suns. Their 6-game win streak comes to an end, and the Avalanche go for back-to-back victories tonight. They take on the dreaded Detroit Red Wings at Ball Arena. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Well, now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Talk back to your favorite local hosts.
At the tone, leave a message.
Call the show. Set your alarm. Enter contests and win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, we've got full phone lines, so we're going to go to those now. Jeff from Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning.
Good morning. First off, I wanted to say I really like the uniqueness of your show. I think you guys are important, and it's unique, and it's not just one guy preaching to the choir; it's two, and so I like that little diversity there, which is pretty cool.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're
Thank you.
going to have to cut off your call right now because anything else is going to be worse. So thanks. Appreciate it. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Hey, and one other quick question, and I don't know you guys, so I'm not, this is
Yeah, it's
not a
fine.
planted call, but do you guys do Spotify too? I know Brockler used to, but do you guys have your shows on Spotify?
Oh, good
Yeah, it's in
question.
the process of getting up there. It takes a little bit, but you can download the podcast right now at 710knus.com. And then, yeah, it'll be up on all those social media podcasting channels here before long.
Yeah, on my end, I have no idea. I cut it, I put it into the system, and then I push a button, and it says saved, and it went to a server. Beyond that, out of my control. I have no idea. We'll find out.
Gotcha, that's cool. First off, yeah, thanks. But the reason for my call is that I know that the primaries are done, and that's when you have the hardcores and stuff, and that's when you kind of say some outlandish things, although that's probably not, Trump kind of says outlandish things all the time.
Right.
But my question is, as you move to the general and you have those undecideds, as you said earlier, I think, Jeff, you were saying 3-1 Dems. Sometimes that's the way they fall. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm an undecided or an unaffiliated, and I'm certainly right of the ledger, not left. And so I want to know what Trump is going to do, to what the plan is to basically create a bigger tent to get other people in under the party versus, I mean, for example, like me, like I get why people don't like Biden. I understand whether it be immigration tax, loan forgiveness, enviro policies, lacks on crime and what have you. But I just don't understand exactly how Trump's going to expand and get people like me to vote for him. I just can't understand, like, he's not Biden. I get he's not Biden, but specifically, what are you going to do, like real policy initiatives? How are you going to get the debt lower? Internationally, is the plan just to roll up into a ball? So you know where I'm going with
Yep.
it. I just don't understand. I don't think, like the last guest you had, I'm sure he sounds like a nice gentleman, but he's fighting against the establishment. He's fighting against rhinos. And then I heard callers earlier this morning, just get on board, you Nikki Haley losers. And I don't understand how that wins general elections. So thanks.
No, Jeff, I appreciate the call. Jeff from Denver. So you're exactly right in the sense of just doing what Donald Trump did in 2020 is not going to get him a victory. He needs to have a new strategy. I hope he does. Because if it's just beating up Biden, I'm not quite sure that's enough. You do have some campaigns and some cycles where you can literally just raise your hand and say, I'm not that guy. Like, it's so toxic and the people are against the party or against the candidate in such a way that you can get away with that. I know things are that bad. I'm just not that guy. I'm not sure it's shaping up to be that way. I think immigration is going to be the top issue, which is going to give Trump leadership. And that's why you saw Joe Biden down there last week trying to deal with this. And he looked completely uncomfortable. And he even knew it was total baloney that the Biden administration cared a lot about illegal immigration and trying to address it. Give me a break. They're putting people on airplanes and flying them up. But to your point, Jeff, just being anti-Joe Biden's not enough. There will have to be an outreach to moderates, independents to bring them over in order to win. And I don't know if I've seen that strategy yet. I think that's yet to be determined. What do you think, Jeff?
I think I haven't seen it either, and I just hope. I mean, I'm not a Trump fan, but I'm definitely not a Biden fan, and there's plenty of issues, like you say, that you can win me over, but it's just, it can't be just the sound bite and, oh, he really got that other guy. Just give me a little bit more substance and I can vote for the guy. But if it's just, I'm not Joe Biden, I'm going to sit it out.
Yeah,
Okay,
Jeff,
now,
I mean,
Jeff,
you are literally the guy that
Yeah.
Donald Trump has to
Yeah.
win over.
So
I appreciate your
what
call.
we're
Go
going to
ahead.
do, we are going to do a mini tiny focus group right now because you are this valuable, persuadable voter. What I want to know is, what are those messages that Trump can say that will resonate with you, that will make you lean over and decide, I'm going to make sure that I vote for Donald Trump? How does he reach you?
He reaches me by saying we have to look at all spending on the table. So he needs to take a look at the spending side of the ledger versus just tax cuts. And so because one of my biggest problems with him is the 8.3 or whatever, how many ever trillion. I know some of that was due to COVID, but I want to understand how you're going to deal with that type of ledger. I mean, if we're talking freedom, deficit is the biggest thing to freedom. I mean, the debt is the biggest thing is the biggest challenge to freedom that all Americans face, in my opinion. And so that's got to be it. And then internationally, I'm just vexed as all get out. I get Ukraine is corrupt, but for goodness sakes, ever since I've been a kid, from Reagan on, the Russians have been problems, and now it seems like we're cozying up to them. So I'd at least like to see a delineation, a line of, as far as, you know, we will support these guys up to this, but I just don't like the quietness on the international part. So that, and then so fiscally and internationally, those are the two big items that I'm going to be looking at.
Jeff,
Wow.
that is very helpful.
That is
and I
great.
think anybody in the Trump operation or the Republican Party should listen to Jeff. He is that absolutely critical middle of the road voter that needs to be reached. Doesn't like Joe Biden, but has issues with Donald Trump, wants to see policy solutions before he's ready to come on over and support Donald Trump. Another text message here. Trump needs to make policy statements. 3,300. They'd like to see that. So is that what it's going to take to connect with independent, middle of the road voters, frustrated with the world they're living in under Joe Biden's leadership, but don't just want to see political fighting back and forth? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. I hope Jeff will continue to check in with us throughout the campaign and let us know who's being persuasive to him. Guys, for those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. Want to know the least attractive and most aging? Well, it's hair loss. No amount of car, house, or success can make up for that thinning and balding, as it leaves the greatest lasting physical impression. It doesn't have to be that way. Advanced Hair has the quick one-day solution to your hair loss. No more expensive pills or special shampoos, just your very own natural hair guaranteed to grow. And with Advanced Hair, your new hair can grow for free. Advanced Hair has improved tens of thousands of lives, including top radio personalities across the country. Did I mention your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day? For your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. And if you qualify, get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. All right, let's go to John. You've been waiting. Thanks so much for your patience. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, John.
Miles of smiles on your radio dial. Thanks so much for having me on.
Hey,
I
thanks,
wanted to
John.
let you know the Trump tariffs severely impacted me as a drop shipper.
Really?
Now, I'm a proud globalist, and I'll tell you, Bill was right on when he said Donald Trump got us out of TPP. The result, China's expansion and the RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Pact, it cratered part of our essential economy, being able to import from China and from other foreign countries. And he's the reason why we have inflation.
Yeah, see, I would agree with you. And what I
Donald
felt that,
Trump's the reason we have inflation.
Yeah, because of he's a large indicator, and the TPP. And it was, for me, I just heard the GOP saying, well, it's something Obama did, so we can't have an Obama thing, so we must throw it out. When if you examined it, it basically was an agreement from everybody in the region to say, if you ever have a possibility to trade with anybody but China, you do it, because we need to constrain their influence on the international market. It was everything we wanted to be able to do. And then Donald Trump torpedoed it and then came out and said, guess what I'm going to do, guys? And he talked about the same thing, that he just torpedoed was going to do. It didn't make any sense.
And it's not a left-right issue. Right now, you have Democrats who are saying that we should lower the de minimis threshold for your daily $800.
Yes.
So if I'm going to be importing items and I have to be able to, half my imports, that's insane. It's going to crater the economy. And the only reason why people are doing it is because they're in some type of isolationist insanity. Grow up. Stop the moral panic. China is a long-term strategic partner of the United States, and that's just a fact.
Yeah. And we do have to recognize how their economy functions and how we can take advantage of that trade and where it's beneficial to us. And I'd ask you here, John, going back, if we would jump into the Wayback Machine with Mr. Peabody and Sherman, if we would go 2 decades back, would you ever expect...
I'm not that old. I only know that as a reference from another show, just to let you know.
Oh, darn. Now I feel so old.
I know that it's a time travel thing.
Yeah, it's a thing from Bullwinkle. Yeah, from there. Yeah. And so they're in the Wayback Machine where it's a time travel. We go back 10, 15, 20 years. Would you anticipate that the GOP would go from free markets to tariffs? That's one of the things that is hurting my brain economically with where the GOP is going under Trump, is they seem to be charging into what used to be the antithesis. The Democrats used to be the tariff party, and that was one of the reasons I hated them. And now all of a sudden they're in favor of free trade.
I think you got a few things with China. One, it's state-owned enterprises, right? So these aren't pure free market enterprises.
But they're not pure state-owned.
The system is game there. And then you had all this intellectual property theft that was taking place over there.
Yeah, but that's part of, in my opinion, and John can help me out, part of how the trade was working, because when we'd go over there to make things, now not all state-owned companies, but the state has a responsibility and an overseer. They also can come in and they can take some of that intellectual property. And so the idea that we decided to go over there and let them have access to it, that's on us. That is not on China. We knew the rules when we set up those factories. We allowed them to take this stuff, and don't even let me get started on what we allowed them to do here in this country on EV batteries. We screwed ourselves, but that's for a different day.
And I think that, some of that manufacturing, quite frankly, we don't want it in the United States. It's a heavy industrial, wasteful process, and we would be exporting to countries where the value to our gain of it would be very, very low. So, yeah, it contributes to a global stability, which is really what we're looking for. If we can keep the tiger by the tail with China by allowing to have, hey, we're going to have a connection between you with certain purchases, how many laundry balls are going to, cripple the economy here? We
John,
don't need to produce that.
I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. John from Denver on tariffs and the economy. Would like to go back to less tariffs and more of a free, open exchange.
Because competition at the core is what will constrain price. And we know this based on, you and I are both huge market enthusiasts. And the easiest way to bring price in line is to increase competition. And so if we're mad about what's happening with some of the prices you're paying across the board, competition will help. Tesla is just facing serious competition for the first time. What did they do this year with their prices? They cut them because they found competition that was serious.
John's line's open. Give us a call. Do you agree with that? 303-696-1971, or should we be making America ingenuity and production our primary role and responsibility? Should there be American trade protections? Would love to hear from you. 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Hey guys, generally we hear talk about medicine and effective treatments for erectile dysfunction and other men's sexual health issues. Today, I want to talk about love. The one you love is the light of your life. And if you're like most men, you want to do whatever you can to nurture that relationship. But if you're suffering from ED, you know the impacts the condition is likely having on you and on your partner. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and has successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, well, your visit is free. They have 5 locations in Colorado: Fort Collins, North Denver, Central Denver, Castle Rock, and Colorado Springs. Stop dealing with the lack of confidence that ED brings. Call them today at 720-440-7900. That's 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. Tyler, you are up next. Then we'll get to Gary and Jane and all these text messages. We love them. Keep sending them. We want you to be a part of this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in London, I'm Stuart Smith, and here are the top stories we're following. Haiti's Prime Minister is seemingly unable to return to his country after armed gangs sprung 4,000 prisoners at the weekend and attempted to take over the country's main international airport. A former police officer and now leader of the gangs said the Prime Minister must stand down or a civil war and genocide would follow. Prime Minister Ariel Henry was sworn in unelected as a temporary measure after the president was assassinated and was meant to step down by February 7th. The FBI is searching for an alleged Iranian spy, someone it thinks may be involved in attempts to kill current and former US officials. The wanted notice, published on the agency's website, says 42-year-old Majid Farahani is attempting to recruit assassins in the US. Iran is allegedly pursuing revenge against the United States after the Pentagon killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in a drone strike in early 2020. A 78-year-old grandmother has been awarded $3.7 million after her home was raided by police on false intelligence. A jury in Denver found a SWAT team had violated Ruby Johnson's constitutional rights when they entered her home without probable cause, based only on incorrect Find My iPhone information. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Stuart Smith in London on Salem News Channel.
All right, our conversation has turned a little bit towards tariffs with Donald Trump and his plan for China. We've been taking calls, and there was a discussion around that. The big news is that Donald Trump won 14 of 15 states yesterday in Super Tuesday. Nikki Haley withdrawing. The Republican Party is changing, but this is what happens to parties. I hosted at CCU one time, the guy who puts together the Congressional Almanac, and he said the reason why the Republican and Democrats are some of the two oldest parties in the world history is because they adjust.
Yeah.
They change.
Oddly enough, we do not have any people registering as Whigs
recently
because that party died.
That party did die.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not unusual. It's not untoward. So,
Let's get to Tyler from Bailey. Tyler, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Tyler.
How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, just everything's kind of cycled back into the tariff scenario, and I think that's probably where the big picture has to look at what's happened to this country over the last 100 years. We've been absolutely torn apart at the seams by foreign interests from our own representatives that have done nothing but sent everything to a cheaper labor scenario, and by that it's mostly slavery in many instances. We've become a country of consumers instead of producers, and the philosophy of preventing or increasing prices on imports directs everything back home, which I think has to be at the focus at some point. And I think that's what Trump was trying to pull off with this, because there's no way to compete here against China. The materials are largely atrocious in many aspects of industry for reliability and functionality and durability. It's a throwaway society that we've created. You can afford something 10 times instead of one thing one time. And, the policies that mainly the Democrats have found themselves tumbling in is all led in by this Trojan horse of climate change that trickles down into regulatories for the businesses, which pushes all the business out of this country. It doesn't change anything globally. We're all in a sealed environment, but it's taken away what you would call the great American spirit.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler, I got a question here for you. When you were talking about the idea of not making things that are durable, the idea that planned obsolescence is a major, in my opinion, a major issue as far as where we've gone inside the economy. Explain to me, though, how either the Democrat Party or the Republican Party are directly responsible for the planned obsolescence, and why it is, because where I come from is where I'm sitting on this one, because I want to let you know, is I see that based on profit motive for the companies, that they know that repairing the same thing is a lower profit margin than having you buy a new one. So that's their motivation. They want us to buy more because they can make more. So help me understand the functionality of either the GOP or the Democrats to prevent that or encourage it to happen.
Well, yeah, you can, and that's where we have the inflated cost of operating in this country on a daily basis. Is that now the service work is absolutely off the charts. Try and fix your car at the dealership sometime. They've got this game pinned down to the American public to where you can't turn right or left without them knowing and predicting every next move.
Yeah, like right to repair laws.
Yeah,
we've been looking at. Yeah. Now, but how do we get there? Because the thing is, I agree, but I feel that both political parties are part of this. I don't think that by changing whoever's in the Oval Office, the issues that you and I have identified as pain points will change. Do you have faith that they will or can?
If you look at the just take auto industry for one, the constant upgrade regulatories on vehicles that has to come out is ever changing. That is under the Trojan horse of climate change.
But is that a bad thing? Is it bad that your engine is more efficient?
Yeah, but that's the whole problem with what they're selling is that you can't justify the input costs for what's coming out the other side of this thing. You're actually increasing input costs in order to have something that's quote environmentally friendly.
Yeah, but other than a hiccup a number of years ago, the auto industry is doing fine, and it's very healthy right now. Now we can talk about where new car prices have gone, but we also can point to larger profits than ever for those auto manufacturers. So it's not necessarily just direct input. And I would say that it is better for the average family to have a 6-cylinder engine that sometimes turns off and only runs on 3 cylinders and burns less gas, because that family, then it's more efficient for them to run the minivan. And that part of that innovation was done based on government regulation.
Yeah, but it's also going in a circle because you now have a starter that fires and runs 100 times more than it used to.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're
good.
replacing
Yeah.
the starter soon. So this is all a big circle, and they know this. And the problem with this is that this is the Democrat policy. It is win at all costs, and that climate change is the horse they're going to ride to do this. And everything swirls around that, and until the people understand what kind of game we're sitting under here, we have our money is not sound. Inflation is a indirect tax. You buy something cheap, you throw it away. You buy it 10 more times, you throw it
Tyler,
away.
appreciate the call. Tyler from Bailey,
Fair
thanks
point.
so much. Tyler's line is going to be open 303-696-1971. Let's go to Jane in Colorado. Jane, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, gentlemen. I have to say first, I'm a lot older than you guys, so a little respect here, but I've
Of
noticed
course.
this morning, Jeff, that your cohort that I have dubbed Machine Gun Kelly is in good, rare form. I tried to follow some of his talking, but I get mixed up with the 4 liter and the 4 and
I
the,
do too.
and the 6.
I
Yeah.
do too.
Okay. So, Bill, don't worry. That's an old World War II saying.
That's okay. I appreciate it.
Okay. The gentleman that called that wanted to know what Donald Trump would do for him.
Yes.
Let's say what Donald Trump can do for our country. Now, for him, I guess he thinks he's Tom Hanks on the island. There's nobody else out there but him. And if he doesn't hear from Trump what he wants to hear, he's going to sit it out. Does he realize that voting is one of our last rights that they haven't hit in a long time? He better rethink his he to us,
Jane,
because voting is important.
The thing I want to point out, though, is that only 1/3 of active voters in Colorado turned out yesterday. Only 1/3 are engaged. The other majority, vast majority, are asking that question.
Then
What's
they
going
better
to get me
stop
up?
asking that question. That's my point. Ask what Donald Trump can do for us, our country. Don't single yourself out and then say if he doesn't do or say what I want him to say, I'm not going to vote. You're not going to vote. This is it, folks. Voting
Jane
is
sounds
everything.
like JFK. Ask not what I got a little JFK there for a second. Ask not what Donald Trump can do for you. What can you do for Donald Trump?
Well, here's the other thing. Donald Trump says things that people don't always understand, but in the end of the game, he turns out to be right.
I agree with you,
look
Jane.
back at
I agree.
his history, and people
What?
say,
Wait, Jane, help me understand.
he says things I don't like. Oh, I don't like the way he talks. Well, I'll give you a little hint. There's not a woman in the world home alone that drops a raw egg on the floor that doesn't swear like a sailor. That's the truth.
But Jane, help
So
me understand.
this sensitive people.
Hang on, Jane, help me understand.
Go ahead.
What was he right about? Because you said that Donald Trump was right, and we have to go back and look.
He
What
was
he
right
about?
about that. Here's the deal. That Pacific thing that they had going over there, did it go
TPP.
through?
No, because he torpedoed it. It was through, and then they
He
tanked
didn't
it.
torpedo it. He just
Yeah, he did.
withdrew.
Yeah, and it would have been
Yeah.
and it would have been an exclusionary trade policy to China. So it would have created more pressure on China, would have hurt their trade, would have helped our trade, and increased our standing in the area. And somehow that's a benefit.
If the United States withdraws, it goes down.
Yeah, but it's not a good thing to withdraw, because the issue being that by withdrawing,
Wait a minute. I'm not asking you that, Bill. I'm saying if the United States gets out of this Pacific Treaty, it goes down.
yeah, it did. Yeah, it
Why?
absolutely did.
Why didn't they go
some
ahead
of
with
them,
it?
some of the partners have still agreed, but you had all the signatures on there. But the other part is, even if you did, does that mean strategically it's smart for the U.S. to say, well, obviously we shouldn't be in the group of people that want to trade with each other and exclude China, even though that is our goal. We've talked this entire conversation about trying to restrict China's influence on our economy and the world economy. And the TPP would have done it. And we said, nope, guys, sorry, we're out. How is that better?
That's better for us because
How?
obviously, if we were the main character and the main payer and the main one to be hit with it, then the rest of them are going to just side off. They're gone. Where did they go?
Text messages want Jane for president.
So that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate the conversation, but I just don't, functionally, I don't understand why pulling out of the trade agreement that would have constrained China somehow made the U.S. stronger.
He wanted to do negotiations one-on-one. Here's Trump in 2018. I am a tariff man. When people or countries come in to raid the great wealth of our nation, I want them to pay for the privilege of doing so. It will always be the best way to max out our economic power. We are now taking in billions of dollars in tariffs, make America rich again. And then I went to back. Here's a statement on TPP.
Oh, he's going to do it
okay.
again.
Trade with other nations is and always will be of paramount importance to my administration. We're going to take this on country by country.
I am constantly amazed how confident Donald Trump steps into the public arena and says, hi, guys, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Let me publicly demonstrate it to you. Listen to the information that is going to come out of my mouth that is 180 degrees away from how the economics actually function. I cannot believe anybody steps out with this much, blatant stupidity, calls attention to it, and expects us to believe it. In that statement you read, he said what? He said that the tariffs are putting pressure on the exporters and that we're getting all this money from the other countries. That shows that Donald Trump fundamentally doesn't understand how tariffs work. That should be an issue. If you want him to be making economic policy, maybe he should understand how the economics works. A tariff is paid by the importer. That's an American. And that cost is passed on to you and I, the end consumer. The person importing the good isn't going to absorb that and by the goodness of their soul go, well, I've got to pay more. Everybody else gets this the regular price. No. Over and over again, we see that in this country. We just had the discussion on wages, but somehow tariffs aren't going to raise our prices. And Donald Trump has said he wants to put a tariff 10% on all imported goods. That means the cost you're going to pay at the store is going up by 10%. They're not going to absorb those costs. Yet Trump confidently stood out there and said, hi, guys, I don't know how tariff works. How about a vote? Why are we doing this?
All right, let's get to your calls here in just a second. Gary, you're up next. Before we do that, we all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and to overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented, non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by a patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. UltraCur gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to your natural grocers. Grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial. No strings attached. Wondering about the research? Get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. Gary, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning. I did watch Trump's speech last night, and I have to say, I watch Trump's speeches primarily because I like to listen to how he tries to manipulate his base. And the way he does is kind of what Billy was talking about. He's looking for the low information voters, people who don't understand that we pay for tariffs by way of higher prices.
Yeah,
And low information voters will swallow his wall over 500 miles, when if you do the research, it's 50 miles of new wall. The other 400 or almost 500 miles of wall were repairs of existing walls, which is a good thing, but he implies that it's 550 miles of new wall. And one of the things I was pretty impressed with Trump is he was very calm. His approach last night was very calm. Unfortunately, he continued to simply repeat the same things he said over and over and over, that he was saying 3 years ago, about how once he's in office, everything is going to be the way it used to be, and implying that when he was in office there were no wars. I don't believe that the wars happened because Biden was president. Wars happen because wars happen. And Trump, I wish he would just address how he would deal with the current situation. Why does he think wars will all of a sudden stop simply because
he thinks he'll get to a peace deal in Ukraine within 30 days?
Yeah, he said he could do it. Yeah,
because he says Putin said he's willing to go to the table, and the Biden administration is not. That's his argument.
Yeah. The question I would have on that is, how much of Ukraine are we allowed to give away? That's not our purview. And the other part that I have with that is, isn't Trump then acquiescing to our enemy? He's saying, yes, it's okay for him to come in and take part of a country. Wasn't that's one of the things that I had when I was throwing rocks at Obama? The fact that he allowed him to just walk into Crimea and go, nope, nothing we can do. My butt. The idea we're going to acquiesce to Putin and Russia and give them part of Ukraine. Please, I want to know what Ronald Reagan would think.
I don't agree with the fact that wars just kind of come and go and that administrations have no influence on that whatsoever. I think Donald Trump's leadership for 4 years kept America out of other foreign wars.
I think there's some logic to that, Jeff. That they may have been in fear of what he might do to them, and he has some good points about defunding Iran. But I just wish that Trump would be a little more forthcoming on what he would actually do and the reasoning behind what he says. And for instance, he added to the deficit more than just COVID. And the best thing he could do with Nikki Haley is put her in charge of some aspect of reducing the deficit. And that would be a good thing for the country, because he obviously has no clue how to stop spending at the levels that we're spending right now.
Gary, appreciate the call. Thanks so much, Gary from Denver. Gary's line's open, 303-696-1971. Do you agree with him? We're going to get to Rusty in just a second. And then Ron, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. Jenna Griswold responding to Lauren Boebert on Twitter. Hey, Lauren, I had to laugh at your pack your bags comment given your recent move. Bring on the recall. Unlike you, I've always defended our Constitution and democracy. Oh, throwdown between Lauren Boebert and Jenna Griswold.
Yeah, tell me she's not angry for a higher office. Tell me Jenna's not looking for something bigger. Yeah, she is. She is.
Let's go to Rusty, line 3. You're on with the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Rusty.
Morning.
Hi, I guess the first question is, can you hear me?
We got you loud
So far,
and
so
clear.
good.
Okay, good. And I appreciate the way you guys let people develop their points and sometimes go off onto other points. Hope I can take advantage of that. But first of all, I called about tariffs, but I'd like to weigh in on the election. And I'm disappointed that Nikki Haley didn't get more traction. And I wanted her to, and I wanted her to win for one reason. And that one reason is because I don't think Donald Trump can win. I just think he's got too much baggage. And I'll just leave that at that. But as far as tariffs go, I have direct firsthand experience. I have a small business that imports art, antiques, and furniture from Asia. And China used to be one of my primary sources. But when the 25% tariffs came on, it really changed the economics a lot. First of all, China doesn't pay it. They may pay it to a certain extent in terms of lower demand for their products, but they don't pay the tariffs directly. The people that pay the tariffs are the importers, and such as me, by having to take lower margins, and the customers of those products by having to pay more for them. So it has in my case, and in almost every case, it probably ends up to be some combination of those two things. But China absolutely does not pay those tariffs. And some of the products that upon which tariffs would be placed, I think probably can only be sourced in China. And really at that point, it doesn't matter. Now, some can probably be sourced in other places or will take years to develop supplies in other places. And in that case, it might penalize China. But I don't think tariff warfare is the way to go.
Here's from, and Rusty, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Here's from the Tax Foundation. It did bring in about $79.8 billion in revenue, the tariffs did, but long-run GDP down 0.21%, long-run wages down 0.14%. And they point out that Biden has essentially not gotten rid of them. He's kept them in place. So interesting.
Yeah.
Let's get to Ron. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning to you. Thanks for taking my call. I told Bill I wanted to find out how many people voted for Trump in Colorado that our Secretary of State would have disenfranchised. I didn't.
Yeah. 818,500. Oh, sorry, that's all Republicans. 517,884. So it would have been 63% of the Republican vote.
Amazing.
Wow. I know. Talk about election interference, huh?
Yeah. The other thing is on Gorka's show yesterday, there was a gal who had investigated the Republican Party, and that's why the chair resigned. And she had spent either $7 million or $17 million on private jets, limousines, hotels.
Wow.
That was an investigation that has been ongoing. That's why she left.
I think she left too because she wasn't winning. That's a really easy job to measure people's success by, whether you're state party chair or national RNC chair, are there more Republicans in office because of your work than there was previously to you? So that I think was part of it as well. But if you're running around trying to win, spending money on private jets, probably not the best. Thanks so much, Ron. Let's go to Rob in Littleton. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Rob.
One of your callers earlier talked about wanting to basically be won over by Trump. He wants to, have him earn his vote. And I would agree. I think Trump can kind of flip the entire script on this thing and turn the whole thing on its ear by simply not being the Donald Trump that we've all become accustomed to. If he comes out, get rid of the stupid cliches. You know, it was better than ever before, and many people are, you know, all this kind of crap that he says incessantly. Stop with the stupid name calling, you know, and everything else. If he comes out and just says, hey, you know what, Joe Biden has done A, B, and C, whatever they may be, and they have produced these results. Here is what I would have done differently, and these are the results that they would have produced, and we would be in a far better place because of it. I think everybody goes, holy crap. What, you know, this is not the Donald Trump that we've become so used to over the years. Everybody knows he's a fighter, he's a puncher, whatever you want to say. Be a policy wonk, even if it's only for a few months. And I think that a lot of the voters who are hesitant to vote for him because they don't like that bombastic nature, maybe they get won over. And some people in the middle who really are more interested in the policy than they are on the mudslinging and whatnot get won over.
Rob, can he do
the
that?
Other thing I want to
before the next thing is,
it.
yeah, and that's the problem I have is I agree with you that would motivate a lot of voters. I don't think he has that in his toolbox. There's nothing in all of his time in the public life that we've seen that he has anything close to being a policy wonk. I mean, not to mention something like you look at DeSantis. DeSantis is that policy wonk. Trump's not even close.
No, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I'll tell you what, if what you're doing is not working, continuing to do it is just stupid. Okay?
Right?
Like
He's got to win. He's got to win at the end of the day.
My dad told me that a lot.
Last point, and I'll make this quick. You guys had mentioned earlier, you know, with him saying I'd have a peace deal within 30 days, and are we acquiescing to Russia and this, that, and the other? Never let the perfect be the enemy of the good, okay? Because the perfect is Russia completely out of Ukraine and not threatening its neighbors. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, a really good point. Rob from Littleton, thanks for the call.
Man.
Hey, we love everybody that chimed in today, texted, called, engaged in this. Super Tuesday is done. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are back at it. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. We'll see you tomorrow.